Marcus Hale stared at the young woman across the cafe table as tears streamed down her face. Her hands gripped the wheels of her chair like she was about to bolt. "I'm sorry," she choked out. "I should go. This was a mistake." He'd buried his parents 6 years ago, raised a kid alone, built walls so high nothing got through, and now his sister had set him up with someone who looked ready to shatter right in front of him. He should have felt relief, should have let her leave. Instead, he heard himself say the words that would change everything. "Wait. If you want to see how this story unfolds, stay with me until the end. Hit that like button and drop a comment with the city you're watching from. I want to see how far this reaches." The cafe smelled like burnt coffee and disappointment. Marcus arrived 10 minutes early because that's what responsible people did, even when they didn't want to be there. He'd picked a corner table, far from the windows where his sister might be lurking outside with binoculars or whatever scheme she cooked up these days. Emma had been relentless about this blind date for 3 weeks. "You need to live, Marcus, not just exist." Easy for her to say. She didn't have a 7-year-old depending on her for everything. He checked his phone. The babysitter had sent a photo of Jamie building a Lego spaceship. His kid's gap-toothed grin made something in his chest loosen slightly. At least one of them was having a good afternoon. The bell above the door chimed. Marcus looked up out of habit, then froze. She wasn't what he expected. Not that he'd really formed expectations beyond woman and blind date, but the wheelchair threw him. His sister hadn't mentioned that detail. Typical Emma, always leaving out the part she thought might make him bail. The young woman, Lila, according to Emma's text, navigated between tables with practiced efficiency. She wore a green jacket and her dark hair fell loose around her shoulders. Pretty, he registered distantly, then immediately felt like an asshole for noticing that before anything else. Their eyes met. He watched her face shift through a series of micro-expressions. Recognition, hesitation, something that looked a lot like dread. She rolled up to the table. He started to stand, an automatic gesture that suddenly felt awkward. Should he stand? Was that weird? "Marcus?" Her voice came out small. "Yeah? Hi. You must be... I can't do this." The words tumbled out fast. "I'm sorry. Emma said you were nice, but she didn't tell me she told you. And I thought maybe she hadn't, and you'd be surprised, and I can't watch another person's face do that thing, and..." She was crying now, really crying, her hands white-knuckled on the armrests. "This was stupid. I'm sorry." Marcus stood there like an idiot while she backed away from the table, bumping into a chair that scraped loudly across the floor. An older couple at the next table glanced over with that particular brand of nosy concern. "Wait," he heard himself say. She stopped. Her eyes were red-rimmed, mascara starting to run. "Just hold on a second." He sat back down, slowly, like she was a spooked animal. "Emma didn't tell me anything except your name and that you liked Italian food. Which is why I picked this place, except now I'm realizing it's actually Greek, so that's embarrassing." A tiny, strangled sound escaped her throat, maybe a laugh. Hard to tell. "I'm not good at this," Marcus continued. He wasn't sure what this even was anymore. "Dating? Blind dates? Any kind of dates, really. I haven't been on one in 6 years. My sister basically ambushed me into this, and I think she ambushed you too, which is extremely on brand for Emma." Lila still hadn't left. That felt like progress. "Look," he said, "I'm going to order coffee that tastes like tire rubber because I already promised the waitress I'd wait for someone. You can leave right now and no hard feelings. Or..." He paused, surprised by what he was about to suggest. "Or you could sit down for 20 minutes. We drink bad coffee, talk about how annoying our relatives are. Then we both go home and tell Emma it went great so she stops texting us motivational quotes." The corner of her mouth twitched. "She sent you those too?" "This morning's was the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step." I almost blocked her number. That got a real laugh, short and wet with tears, but genuine. Lila rolled back to the table. She didn't pull up to it right away, leaving a careful distance between them. 20 minutes, she said quietly. 20 minutes. The waitress appeared like she'd been hovering nearby the whole time, which she probably had been. Marcus ordered black coffee. Lila asked for tea, green tea, her voice steadier now. Silence settled between them after the waitress left. Not comfortable, but not quite as jagged as before. "Emma's my younger sister," Marcus started, "because one of them had to. She thinks that gives her permission to manage my life. Last month, she signed me up for a pottery class without asking. Did you go? Made the ugliest bowl you've ever seen. Gave it to her for her birthday. Lila's smile was small but real. Sisters are the worst. You have one? 2. They held an intervention last year, said I was becoming a hermit. She wrapped her hands around the tea mug the waitress had delivered. They weren't wrong. Marcus studied her face, the way exhaustion shadowed her features. He recognized that look. He wore it most days. I have a son, he said abruptly. Jamie. He's 7, in case that's a deal breaker or whatever. Why would that be a deal breaker? Most people run when they hear single dad on a first date, which this isn't really. First date, I mean, since you already tried to leave once. He winced. That sounded better in my head. No, I get it. Lila took a sip of her tea. Most people run when they see the wheelchair, so we're both warning labels apparently. The bluntness of it hit him sideways. I didn't mean, it's okay. She cut him off gently. I'm not trying to make you feel bad, just stating facts. Most guys my age aren't looking to date someone who can't walk. Add in all the medical stuff and the accessibility complications and the stares we'd get in public, and yeah, it's easier for everyone if I just stay home. Marcus set his coffee down harder than he intended. That's bullshit. Her eyebrows shot up. Sorry, he said. Not sorry at all. But come on. Anyone who's that shallow isn't worth your time anyway. Easy to say from your side of the table. Is it? The words came out sharper than he meant. My wife walked out when Jamie was 2. Said she wasn't cut out for motherhood. I've spent 5 years doing this alone, watching other parents at school pick up with their picture-perfect families, getting advice I never asked for from people who think single dads can't pack a proper lunch. Everyone's got their thing that makes life harder. Yours is just more visible. Lila stared at him. Your wife left you with a baby? Toddler, technically, though he still felt like a baby. Marcus looked away, focusing on a water stain on the wall. She sent birthday cards the first 2 years. Then those stopped too. Haven't heard from her in 3 years now. I'm sorry. Don't be. We're better off. He meant it, mostly. Jamie's a great kid, smart, funny. Has this obsession with space that I don't understand at all, but he talks about rocket fuel like other kids talk about dinosaurs. Oh, that's sweet. Something in Lila's posture had shifted, less defensive now. It's exhausting, Marcus admitted. But yeah, also sweet. He asked me last week if astronauts ever get lonely in space. I told him they probably miss their families. He said they should bring their families with them. Problem solved. 7-year-old logic. The world would be simpler if it actually worked that way. The 20 minutes stretched into 40, then an hour. At some point, Marcus ordered food, mediocre gyros that were definitely not Italian, and Lila picked at a Greek salad while they talked about nothing important. Her favorite color. His terrible taste in action movies. The way autumn felt different every year, shorter somehow, like the seasons were forgetting their own rhythms. Can I ask what happened? Marcus ventured eventually. You don't have to answer. Lila's fork paused halfway to her mouth. Car accident 4 years ago. I was 21, driving home from college for winter break. Ice on the highway, lost control, hit a barrier. Broke my spine. T12 complete. She said it matter-of-factly, like she'd practiced the explanation until the emotion drained out. Marcus understood that instinct. He'd done the same when people asked about Jamie's mother. The doctors said I'd never walk again. They were right. She set her fork down. My boyfriend at the time stayed for 3 months. Then he left. Said he couldn't handle it, which was at least honest. The next guy I dated lasted 6 weeks. After that, I stopped trying. Until Emma got involved. Until your sister convinced my sister to convince me this might be different. Lila met his eyes. She said you'd understand what it's like to have your life blow up and rebuild from scratch. I thought she was just saying nice things. Sisters do that. Mine does, Marcus agreed. Doesn't make her wrong, though. Doesn't make her right either. Fair point. The cafe had emptied around them without Marcus noticing. Late afternoon sun slanted through the windows, turning Lila's hair bronze at the edges. She looked tired, but less fragile than when she'd arrived. Or maybe he was just seeing her differently now. I should go, she said, though she didn't move. My sister's probably waiting outside to interrogate me. Emma definitely is. Marcus pulled out his phone, saw 3 texts asking how it was going. She's subtle as a brick. Runs in the family? Apparently. Lila smiled, a real one this time, that reached her eyes. This was nice. Better than I thought it would be. Low bar to clear considering you tried to flee immediately. I didn't flee. I made a tactical retreat. That's what we're calling it? My chair, my terminology. Marcus laughed, surprising himself. When was the last time he'd laughed on a date? When was the last time he'd been on a date? The whole afternoon felt surreal, like he'd stepped into someone else's life by accident. Can I ask you something? Lila's tone turned serious. Why didn't you let me leave? At the beginning? He considered lying, giving some smooth answer about being polite or curious. But she'd been honest with him, painfully so. She deserved the same. I don't know, he admitted. Maybe because you looked how I feel most days, like you're drowning and everyone else is just standing around watching. Or maybe I'm just tired of being alone and pretending that's a choice. Lila's expression went soft, vulnerable, in a way that made Marcus want to look away and keep staring at the same time. That's the saddest thing anyone's ever said to me, she murmured. Sorry, I'm out of practice with this. Should I have said something about your eyes or your smile or… No. She cut him off quickly. No, that was perfect. Terrible, but perfect. They sat in that moment, 2 broken people in a mediocre cafe, and something passed between them that Marcus couldn't name. Recognition, maybe. Or just exhaustion with pretending everything was fine when it really wasn't. I'm going to give you my number, Lila said, and you're going to take 3 days to text me because you'll overthink it. Then we'll get coffee again, somewhere with better coffee, and we'll talk about our actual lives instead of just the disasters. Okay? That's pretty presumptuous. Am I wrong? No, she absolutely wasn't. Marcus had already started overthinking what to text her, and she hadn't even given him the number yet. They exchanged phones, typed in contacts. Marcus caught himself smiling at the profile picture she'd set. A candid shot of her laughing at something off camera, head thrown back, completely unguarded. 3 days? She reminded him as she headed toward the door. 2, he countered. 3. Don't make me come find you. She left before he could argue further. Through the window, he watched her navigate the sidewalk, passing other pedestrians who barely registered her presence. Normal. Just another person going about their day. His phone buzzed immediately. Emma. How did it go? Marcus typed back, You're a meddling pain in the ass. Then, thank you. The response was instant. Details. Now. He pocketed his phone and left cash on the table, overtipping because the waitress had pretended not to watch them cry and laugh and fumble through the weirdest first date he'd ever been on. Outside, the autumn air bit cold against his face. Marcus walked to his car on autopilot, mind still in that cafe, replaying Lila's expressions, the way her voice had shifted from scared to sardonic, how her smile had transformed her entire face. He was in trouble. The realization hit him as he merged onto the highway. His carefully constructed life had fault lines now, places where something new and terrifying could slip through. He should have let her leave, should have kept his walls up and his world small and safe. But he'd said wait, and she'd stayed. And now Marcus had to figure out what the hell to do about that. His phone buzzed again at a red light. Not Emma this time. Unknown number. This is Lila. Saving you the awkward, who is this text in 3 days. Also, I lied earlier. Those 20 minutes weren't just nice, they were really nice. Scary nice. The kind that makes you want to run and stay at the same time. Anyway, text me in 3 days. Or 2. Whatever. Marcus read it twice, then 3 times. His chest felt tight, like someone had reached in and squeezed his heart. He started typing a response, deleted it, started again. Scariest thing I've heard all day. I'll text you tomorrow. He sent it before he could second-guess himself. The reply came 30 seconds later. Deal. The light turned green. Someone honked behind him. Marcus drove home with that stupid smile still on his face, the one he couldn't quite control, thinking about green tea and terrible gyros and the way Lila had looked at him like she saw something worth sticking around for. Jamie was building a blanket fort when Marcus walked through the door. The babysitter, a college kid named Dana, waved from the couch where she was pretending not to be on her phone. "Dad!" Jamie crashed into his legs with the force of a small asteroid. "Look what I made! It's a Mars base. See? That's where the astronauts sleep, and that's where they do science, and that's where they keep the emergency supplies in case of alien invasion." "Very practical," Marcus said, ruffling his son's hair. Hair that desperately needed a cut, he noted. Add it to the list. "Did you eat dinner?" "Dana made mac and cheese, the good kind from the box, not the weird healthy kind you make." "Traitor," Dana grinned, collecting her bag. "He did his homework. Mostly. There might be a math worksheet he forgot about." "There's always a math worksheet." Marcus walked her to the door, paid her for the evening. "Thanks for staying late." "No problem. Hot date?" The question caught him off guard. "Something like that." "Well, you look happy. It's nice." Dana left before he could formulate a response to that. Did he look happy? Marcus checked his reflection in the hallway mirror. Same tired eyes, same permanent stress line between his eyebrows. But maybe, yeah, something was different around the edges. "Dad, can we watch the space documentary?" Jamie had emerged from his fort, holding the remote like a sacred artifact. "The one about Mars?" "It's a school night." "But it's educational. You always say educational is okay." Kid had him there. "One episode, then bed." They settled on the couch, Jamie burrowing into his side with the casual affection that still surprised Marcus sometimes. His son wouldn't be small forever. Already he was losing that baby softness, growing into a real person with opinions and arguments and an alarming amount of knowledge about planetary atmospheres. The documentary played. Marcus tried to focus on Mars rovers and soil samples, but his mind kept drifting back to the cafe. To Lila's face when he'd asked her to stay. To the way she'd called him out without cruelty, just blunt honesty that he hadn't realized he needed. "Dad?" Jamie's voice pulled him back. "You're not watching." "Sorry, buddy. Long day." "Was it good long or bad long?" "Good long, I think." Jamie considered this with the seriousness he applied to all important matters. "That's good. You don't smile enough." Marcus looked down at his son, startled. "What?" "You don't smile enough," Jamie repeated, matter of fact. "Aunt Emma says it's 'cause you're sad sometimes, but trying not to show it. But today you're smiling, so maybe you're not sad anymore." The kid was 7. He was supposed to be thinking about Legos and video games and whether broccoli was actually poison, not analyzing his father's emotional state. "I'm not sad," Marcus said, then reconsidered. "Or maybe I am sometimes, but that's okay. People can be sad and still be happy. Does that make sense?" "No." "Yeah, me neither." They watched Mars in comfortable silence after that. When the episode ended, Marcus carried a half-asleep Jamie to bed, tucked him in among the stuffed animals and space posters that covered every surface. "Love you, Dad," Jamie mumbled, already mostly gone. "Love you too, Space Cadet." Marcus left the door cracked, hallway light spilling into the room the way Jamie liked. Then he stood in his own bedroom, staring at his phone like it might explode. One day. He'd said he'd text her tomorrow. That gave him approximately 16 hours to figure out what to say that wouldn't sound desperate or weird or like he was trying too hard. Screw it. He opened the message thread. "I lied about the coffee. It wasn't that bad. The gyro, though? Terrible. Next time we're picking the place together." He hit send before his brain could interfere. Next time was presumptuous as hell, but she'd started it with her 3 days prediction. The response came while he was brushing his teeth. "Deal. I know a place with actual Italian food. Fair warning, it's run by my aunt, and she will interrogate you about your intentions." Marcus laughed around his toothbrush. "Looking forward to it, liar, terrified, better." He fell asleep with his phone on the nightstand, waiting for it to buzz again like a teenager. The last thing he thought before sleep took him was that Emma had been right. He did need to live, not just exist, scary as hell, but maybe worth it. The Italian place turned out to be a tiny restaurant tucked between a laundromat and a dollar store, the kind of spot you'd miss if you weren't looking for it. Marcus arrived 15 minutes early again, a habit he couldn't break, and immediately regretted it when a woman who could only be Lila's aunt materialized from behind the counter like she'd been waiting. "You must be Marcus." not a question. She was short, round, with sharp eyes that cataloged everything about him in 3 seconds flat. Lila said you'd be early. She's running late because the accessible entrance is around back and somebody parked in front of it like an idiot. I can help. Already handled it. Sit. She pointed at a corner booth. You want water? Coffee? Something stronger? You look nervous. Water's fine. Coffee it is. She disappeared before he could argue. Marcus sat, feeling like he'd just been processed through some kind of security checkpoint. The restaurant smelled incredible, though. Garlic and tomatoes and fresh bread. His stomach reminded him he'd skipped lunch because Jamie had needed help with a science project that somehow required building a volcano at 7 in the morning. Lila appeared 10 minutes later, cheeks flushed from cold or frustration, probably both. Sorry. Parking disaster. Did my aunt ambush you yet? Is that what that was? That was her being subtle. Lila rolled up to the table, shrugging off her jacket. She wore a blue sweater that made her eyes look darker. Marcus noticed, then felt weird about noticing. She'll come back in 15 minutes with food we didn't order and opinions we didn't ask for. Fair warning. Sounds familiar. Emma does the same thing, except she texts her opinions at 2 in the morning. Has she texted you about me? 67 times. I counted. Lila laughed. My sisters have a group chat called Operation Lila that they think I don't know about. Last night they were debating whether you're a serial killer. What was the verdict? Unanimous no. You're too nice, apparently. Serial killers have more charisma. That's oddly insulting. I thought so too. The aunt returned with coffee neither of them had ordered and a basket of bread that was still steaming. 15 minutes, she announced, then vanished again. She's terrifying, Marcus said. She raised 3 daughters alone after my uncle died. Terrifying is her default setting. Lila tore off a piece of bread, steam rising. So, how was your week? Did Jamie finish his Mars base? Marcus was surprised she remembered. He's moved on to Europa now. Apparently Jupiter's moons are more interesting. I spent Tuesday night learning about ice volcanoes. Cryovolcanism. You know about this stuff? I was a geology major before. She gestured vaguely at herself. Before. I was going to study planetary geology, actually. Wanted to work for NASA someday. Past tense? Lila looked away, focusing on the bread. Hard to do field work when you can't walk. Most planetary geology involves actual geology, rock samples, terrain analysis, not exactly wheelchair accessible. What about the rover missions? Somebody has to analyze all that data from Mars. That's different. That's computer work, lab work. So, still geology, still planets. Marcus leaned forward. You gave up your whole degree because of accessibility issues? I gave up my degree because I was 21 and depressed and couldn't imagine a future where I wasn't broken. Her voice had gone flat. Can we talk about something else? Marcus backed off, recognizing the wall when he hit it. He had his own walls about certain topics. Claire, mostly. The early years after she left. The nights when Jamie cried for his mother and Marcus had no answers that made sense to a 3-year-old. Jamie asked me yesterday if astronauts get sad in space, he offered, changing tracks. I told him probably, sometimes. He wanted to know what they do about it. I said they call home and talk to people they love. What did he say? He said that's dumb because the transmission delay is too long. He suggested they should bring dogs instead. More efficient emotional support. Lila's smile came back slowly. Smart kid. Too smart sometimes. Last week he asked why I don't date. Just out of nowhere while we're eating breakfast. Dad, how come you never have girlfriends? Like it's the weather or something. What did you tell him? That I've been too busy, which is true, but also... Marcus stopped, unsure how much to share. Also not true. I've been scared, mostly, of bringing someone into his life who might leave. He's already been left once by someone who was supposed to stay. Lila was quiet for a moment, turning her coffee cup in slow circles. I get that. Different situation, but I get it. After the accident, after people kept leaving, I decided it was easier to not let anyone in at all. Can't be abandoned if you don't give anyone the chance. How's that working out? Terrible, lonely as hell, but safe. Yeah, Marcus said quietly. Same. The aunt appeared with plates of pasta neither of them had ordered. Fettuccine and cream sauce, chicken parmesan, a side of vegetables that actually looked good. Eat, she commanded. You're both too skinny. I'm really not, Marcus started, but she'd already gone. Just eat it, Lila advised. She'll stand in the kitchen watching through the window if you don't. They ate. The food was incredible, the kind of cooking that made Marcus understand why people had favorite restaurants. Between bites, conversation flowed easier than it had any right to. Lila told him about her sisters. The oldest was a nurse, bossy and protective. The middle one taught high school and had strong opinions about everything. Marcus talked about Emma, how she'd basically raised herself because their parents had been older, distracted, always working. They were good people, he said. Just not great at the whole parenting thing, too stuck in their routines. When they died, it was a car accident. Just like, he stopped himself. Just like mine, Lila finished. It's okay. You can say it. Cars are pretty effective at destroying lives. Dark. Honest. Fair point. Marcus's phone buzzed. He ignored it. Buzzed again. Sorry, hang on. It's the school. Lila waved him off. Take it. He answered, already standing, instinct kicking in. This is Marcus Hale. The voice on the other end was Jamie's teacher, Mrs. Patterson. Calm, but concerned. Jamie had gotten into a fight. Nothing serious, but could Marcus come in tomorrow to discuss it? A fight. Jamie doesn't fight. I understand it's out of character. That's why we'd like to talk. Marcus agreed, hung up, sat back down feeling like he'd been punched. Sorry, my kid apparently decided today was the day to start punching people. Is he okay? Physically? Yeah. Emotionally? No idea. He's never done anything like this. Marcus rubbed his face. I'm screwing this up. You don't know that. He got in a fight. At school. That's pretty clear evidence of screwing up. Or it's evidence that he's 7 and dealing with stuff you don't know about yet. Lila's voice was gentle. Kids don't come with instruction manuals. You're doing your best. My best apparently involves raising a tiny delinquent. One fight doesn't make him a delinquent. It makes him human. Cut yourself some slack. Marcus wanted to argue but didn't have the energy. The food on his plate suddenly looked less appealing. He picked at it anyway because the aunt was definitely watching. You want to leave? Lila asked. Go check on him? The babysitter said he's fine. Quiet, but fine. Marcus set his fork down. I should stay. We planned this. I'm not going to bail because your kid needs you? That's not bailing. That's being a parent. I want to be here, he admitted. That's the problem. I actually want to sit here and eat overpriced pasta and talk to you about anything that isn't my life falling apart. How selfish is that? Pretty selfish. Lila said it without judgment. But also human. You're allowed to want things for yourself. Even single parents get to have lives. Do they, though? I don't know. I'm not a parent, but I know what it's like to feel guilty for wanting something normal when everything's complicated. They sat in that honesty for a while, the restaurant humming with quiet conversation around them. The aunt came back, saw their half-finished plates, and frowned. No good? It's great, Marcus assured her. Just a rough call, family stuff. She nodded like she understood everything without being told. I'll box it up. You take it home. Feed that boy of yours. When she left, Lila said, She knows about Jamie? Pretty sure she knows everything. It's unsettling. That's Aunt Rosa. She's psychic or nosy. Nobody's sure which. They finished what they could. Rosa appeared with containers and the check, which she wouldn't let Marcus pay in full. First-time family discount, she said, brooking no argument. You come back, you pay full price. That's the deal. Outside, the temperature had dropped. Marcus walked Lila to her car, a van with a wheelchair lift that looked well used. She unlocked it, positioned herself by the lift, then paused. This was nice, she said, even with the emergency call and the emotional honesty and my aunt being a pushy nightmare. It was, Marcus agreed. He meant it. Can we do it again? You sure? Your life is kind of a mess right now. So is yours. Fair point, Lila smiled. Yeah, let's do it again. After you figure out what's going on with Jamie, family first. You sound like Emma. Emma sounds smart. Marcus laughed despite everything. Lila lifted herself into the van with practiced efficiency, and he tried not to stare because that felt rude, But also, he was curious about the mechanics of her life in ways that he couldn't quite articulate. "Stop thinking so loud," Lila said without looking at him. "Yes, I can drive. Yes, I'm safe. Yes, I do this every day. Any other questions?" "How did you know?" "Everyone stares the first few times. It's fine. You'll get used to it." The assumption that there would be a get used to it phase made Marcus's chest do something complicated. He stepped back as the lift lowered her into the van. She rolled to the driver's seat, transferred herself over with the same practiced ease. "Text me," she called through the open window. "Let me know what's going on with Jamie." "I will." He watched her drive away, taillights disappearing into traffic. Then he sat in his own car for 10 minutes before starting it, trying to sort through the mess of feelings that had accumulated over dinner. He liked her. That was the simple part. The complicated part was everything else. His kid, her wheelchair, the logistics of dating when your life was already maxed out on complications. His phone buzzed. "Emma, how was dinner?" Marcus typed back, "Good, complicated, same as everything else." Emma, "That's adulthood, baby." Sometimes he really hated his sister. At home, Jamie was already in bed, but not asleep. Marcus could tell from the way the light under the door kept shifting. The kid was reading when he should have been sleeping. He knocked, went in without waiting. Jamie shoved the book under his pillow, like that would fool anyone. "Hey," Marcus said, sitting on the edge of the bed. "Mrs. Patterson called." Jamie's face closed off immediately. "I don't want to talk about it." "We're going to talk about it. But not right now. Right now, I just want to know if you're okay." "I'm fine." "Jamie, I said I'm fine." It came out louder than either of them expected. Jamie's eyes went wide, then filled with tears he was clearly trying to suppress. "Just leave me alone." Marcus had no idea what to do. His kid didn't yell, didn't cry much anymore. Definitely didn't get into fights. This was new territory. The kind parenting books probably covered, but he'd never had time to read. "Okay," he said quietly. "I'm going to leave you alone. But I'm right down the hall if you need me. And tomorrow we're going to talk about what happened. Not to punish you, just to understand." Jamie nodded, still not looking at him. Marcus left the door cracked and went to his own room, feeling like he'd failed some kind of test he hadn't known he was taking. His phone buzzed. "Lila, did you talk to him?" Marcus. "Tried. He shut down. I have no idea what I'm doing." Lila. "Nobody does. That's the secret of parenting, apparently. Everyone's just guessing." Marcus. "How would you know? You said you're not a parent." Lila. "My sisters complain constantly. I'm an expert by proxy." Despite everything, Marcus smiled. They texted back and forth for an hour, about nothing important, TV shows, bad weather, the weird smell in Lila's building that maintenance couldn't identify. Normal stuff, easy stuff. The kind of conversation that didn't fix anything but made the weight feel lighter. Eventually, Lila signed off. "Get some sleep. Tomorrow you get to be a responsible adult and handle school drama. Lucky you." Marcus. "Can't wait." Lila. "Liar." "Good night, Marcus." Marcus. "Good night, Lila." He fell asleep thinking about the way she'd looked in that blue sweater and whether her aunt's restaurant did take out, and how strange it was that someone he'd known less than 2 weeks already felt necessary. The next morning started badly and got worse. Jamie refused breakfast, barely spoke in the car, and looked like he might throw up when they pulled into the school parking lot. "Whatever happened," Marcus said, "we'll figure it out. Okay?" Jamie nodded without conviction. Mrs. Patterson's classroom smelled like dry erase markers and stress. She was a kind woman, usually, but her expression was serious when Marcus arrived. Jamie had been sent to the library so the adults could talk. "Marcus, thank you for coming in." She gestured to a chair that was definitely built for children. He sat anyway, knees practically to his chest. "I'll get straight to it. Yesterday, Jamie punched another student during recess." "Who? Why?" "Tyler Brennan. Apparently Tyler made comments about Jamie's family situation, specifically about his mother not being around." Marcus felt ice spread through his chest. "What kind of comments?" "According to witnesses, Tyler said Jamie's mom left because Jamie wasn't good enough. That nobody would want a kid like that." Mrs. Patterson's voice softened. "Jamie punched him once, then walked away. Tyler wasn't hurt. But obviously we can't allow violence." Obviously, Marcus echoed numbly. What happens now? Jamie's suspended for the rest of the week. When he comes back, he'll meet with the counselor. Tyler's parents have been notified and he's receiving consequences as well. She paused. Marcus, has Jamie talked to anyone about his feelings regarding his mother? Not really. He used to ask questions when he was younger. I answered what I could. He hasn't brought it up in over a year. Kids that age process things differently than adults. Sometimes it takes years for them to really understand abandonment. She leaned forward. I'm not saying this to make you feel bad. You're a good father. Everyone here knows that. But Jamie might benefit from talking to someone professional. A therapist. A counselor, yes. Someone who specializes in children and family issues. Marcus nodded mechanically, absorbing information his brain didn't want to process. His kid needed therapy because his mother had walked out and some other kid had weaponized that pain. Perfect. Great. Exactly what he needed on top of everything else. Jamie was silent the entire drive home. Marcus kept glancing over, trying to find words that didn't sound hollow. You're not in trouble, he finally said. Not with me. I get why you hit him. I shouldn't have. Probably not, but I understand why you did. They pulled into the driveway. Jamie bolted for the house before Marcus could say anything else. By the time Marcus got inside, his son's door was closed, the universal sign for go away. Marcus stood in the hallway feeling useless. Then he did what he always did when things got too heavy. He called Emma. She answered on the first ring. What's wrong? How do you always know something's wrong? Brother instinct. Plus you never call during work hours. Spill. He told her everything. The fight, the suspension, Mrs. Patterson's suggestion. Emma listened without interrupting, which meant it was serious. Okay, she said when he finished. Here's what you do. First, breathe. Second, find a good child therapist. Third, give Jamie space, but make sure he knows you're not going anywhere. Fourth, breathe again. That's your advice? You want me to tell you this is easy? It's not. Parenting is a nightmare. You're doing it alone, which makes it harder. But Jamie's a good kid and you're a good dad and you'll figure it out. What if I don't? Then you figure it out messy, but you still figure it out. Emma's voice went softer. How's Lila? The subject change caught him off guard. What? Lila, the woman you're dating, or not dating, whatever you're calling it. She's fine, I think. Why? Because I can hear it in your voice. You like her, actually like her, and that's scaring you almost as much as this thing with Jamie. Marcus sat down hard on the couch. I hate when you do this. Do what? Read my mind from 50 miles away. It's a gift. He could hear her smiling. Marcus, you're allowed to have both. A kid with problems and a relationship that makes you happy. They're not mutually exclusive. Feels that way. I know, but it's not. Trust me, or don't. Just don't push her away because you're scared. After they hung up, Marcus sat in the silent house trying to absorb advice he didn't feel equipped to follow. His phone buzzed. Lila. How did it go? He should probably lie. Say everything was fine. Instead, he found himself typing out the whole story. The kind of emotional dump you don't do with someone you've been on 2 dates with. Lila's response came 5 minutes later. That's so much. I'm sorry. Is Jamie okay? Marcus. Honestly? No idea. Lila. Are you okay? No one had asked him that. Not Mrs. Patterson, not Emma really, just Lila, cutting through everything to the question that mattered. Marcus. No, but I will be. I think. Lila. Want company? I could come over, or you could come here, or we could just talk on the phone like normal people instead of texting. Marcus called her before he could overthink it. Hey, she answered. Hey. His voice came out rougher than intended. I don't know if company is a good idea. Jamie's home and he's upset and I don't want to make things more complicated. That's fair, but Marcus? Yeah? You don't have to do everything alone. I know you're used to it, but you don't have to. Something in his chest cracked. Not broke, just cracked enough that feelings he'd been shoving down for 6 years started leaking through. I'm a mess, he said. Join the club. We have jackets. He laughed despite himself, watery and pathetic. This is too much to put on someone I barely know. Then get to know me better. Stop deciding what I can handle and let me make that choice. Lila, I'm not going to run because your life is complicated, Marcus. Mine's complicated too. That's kind of our whole thing, remember? Two disasters trying to figure out if they add up to something functional. Do they? I don't know yet, but I want to find out. Marcus closed his eyes, phone pressed to his ear, and made a choice. The scared part of him wanted to push her away, protect Jamie from more potential loss, protect himself from caring too much. But the part that had said, wait, in that cafe was louder. Okay, he said. Come over. But fair warning, it might be awkward as hell. Awkward is my baseline. I'll bring dinner. Does Jamie like Chinese? He eats lo mein like it's a competitive sport. Perfect. I'll be there in an hour. She hung up before he could change his mind. Marcus sat there for a moment, phone in hand, wondering what he'd just agreed to. Then he went to knock on Jamie's door. Hey, bud, we're having company for dinner. A friend of mine. Her name's Lila. She's nice. You'll like her. Silence from the other side. You don't have to come out if you don't want to, but there'll be lo mein. More silence. Then quietly, okay. Marcus took that as a win and went to make his house look marginally less like a disaster zone. An hour wasn't enough time to deep clean, but he could at least hide the worst of it. When the doorbell rang, his heart did something stupid in his chest. He opened the door to find Lila holding 3 bags of Chinese food, looking nervous and determined in equal measure. Hi, she said. Hi, that's a lot of food. I didn't know what anyone liked, so I got everything. Your neighbors are staring, by the way, very subtle about it. Marcus glanced over her shoulder. Sure enough, Mrs. Chen from 2 doors down was doing a terrible job of pretending to check her mailbox. Ignore them. Come in. Lila navigated the threshold, the slight bump making her pause and recalibrate. Marcus caught himself wanting to help, then remembered her words from earlier about letting her make her own choices. The house was small, cluttered in the way single-parent homes always were. Shoes by the door, Jamie's backpack on the couch, dishes in the sink Marcus hadn't gotten to. Lila took it all in without comment, just rolled through to the kitchen like she belonged there. Plates? Cabinet above the sink. They unpacked food in comfortable silence. Marcus could hear Jamie's door open down the hall, footsteps hesitating, then retreating. Not ready yet. That was fine. He's scared, Marcus said quietly. Of me? Of everything. Of me bringing someone new into his life who might leave. Like his mom. Lila set down the container she was holding. Are you going to tell him that's not how this works? That I'm not his mom and I'm not trying to be? I don't know what this is enough to tell him anything. Then tell him I'm your friend. That's true, right? Marcus looked at her, really looked. She was right. Whatever else they were figuring out, that part was solid. Yeah, that's true. Then start there. Jamie appeared in the doorway like a ghost, all big eyes and suspicion. He looked at Lila, then at his dad, calculating. Hey, Jamie, Lila said easily. I'm Lila. Your dad said you like lo mein. I got the good kind from Golden Dragon, and some dumplings, and basically everything else on the menu because I'm bad at decisions. Jamie didn't smile, but the tension in his shoulders eased slightly. You got spring rolls? 3 orders. Okay. Marcus exhaled. They ate at the kitchen table, Jamie gradually relaxing as Lila asked him about school, carefully avoiding the obvious topic, and rockets and whether he thought Mars or Europa was more interesting for potential life. Europa, Jamie said through a mouthful of noodles. Subsurface ocean. Better chance of microorganisms. Smart answer, Lila said. I was a geology student. Used to love planetary stuff. Used to? Had to stop for a while. But I'm thinking about going back. Finish what I started. Why'd you stop? Life got complicated. Jamie absorbed this with the seriousness of someone who understood complicated. Dad says life's always complicated. You just deal with it. Your dad's pretty smart. Sometimes. Marcus kicked him gently under the table. Jamie almost smiled. After dinner, Jamie retreated to his room, exhaustion and emotion finally catching up. Marcus walked Lila to the door, suddenly unsure how to end the evening. Thank you, he said, for coming, for making it less awful than it could have been. He's a good kid. He'll be okay. You don't know that. No, Lila admitted. But I know you won't give up on him. That counts for a lot. She left with a quick squeeze of his hand, casual but deliberate. Marcus stood in the doorway, watching her navigate the driveway in the dark, her van's lift whirring softly. His heart felt too full and too raw at the same time. His phone buzzed after she'd driven away. Made it home. Your kid is great. You're doing better than you think. Marcus read it 3 times before responding. You're good at this. Lila. At what? Marcus. Being human when I need it. Lila. Same back at you. He fell asleep that night thinking about geology degrees and lo mein and the way Lila had looked at Jamie like he was a person, not a problem to solve. It didn't fix anything. Jamie still needed therapy. School was still a disaster. Life was still impossibly complicated. But somehow, with Lila in it, it felt slightly less impossible. 3 weeks later, Marcus found himself standing in the parking lot of a community center, staring at a flyer Emma had taped to his fridge without permission. Game night, adults only, bring snacks and low expectations. His sister had circled the date in red marker and written, "You're going," across the top. This is stupid, he muttered into his phone. It's social interaction, Lila's voice came through warm and amused. You remember that concept? Talking to humans who aren't your kid or your sister or me? I talk to people at work. Coworkers don't count. They're legally required to tolerate you. Marcus laughed despite himself. Lila had gotten better at that, making him laugh when everything felt heavy. Jamie's therapy sessions were going okay, not great, but okay, and the kid still had moments where he shut down completely. But there were good days too. Days when Jamie smiled at breakfast or asked Marcus to help with homework without being prompted. You're really not coming? He asked, already knowing the answer. Can't. My sister's visiting, the bossy one. She wants to have a conversation about my life choices, which means she's going to lecture me about going back to school for 2 hours while I pretend to listen. Sounds fun. About as fun as your game night will be, which is why we're both suffering through our respective hells. Lila paused. But Marcus, Emma's friends are your friends. Give them a chance. They've known you forever. That was part of the problem. They'd known him before Claire left, back when he'd been a different person. Lighter, less broken. He wasn't sure he knew how to be around them anymore. Okay, he said anyway. I'll go in. But if it's terrible, I'm blaming you. Fair enough? Text me the horror stories later. He hung up and forced himself through the community center doors. The game night was in a back room that smelled like old carpet and desperation. About 15 people scattered around tables, Emma's crowd from college, and a few others Marcus vaguely recognized. Marcus! Emma materialized immediately, practically dragging him to a table. You came! I told Rachel you'd come. She bet me $20 you'd bail. Still time for that, Marcus said, but he sat down anyway. The table had 4 other people. Rachel, who he'd met at Emma's birthday party last year. Tom and his husband David, both teachers at the high school Emma worked at. And Connor, who Marcus remembered from way back. They'd played basketball together in college before life got complicated. Man, it's been forever, Connor said, reaching across to shake his hand. Emma said you were coming out of hibernation. I wasn't hibernating. You kind of were, Emma said cheerfully. But that's okay. We still like you. They played some card game Marcus didn't understand, the rules changing every 5 minutes based on who was winning. He was terrible at it, but nobody seemed to care. The conversation flowed around him, gossip about people he half remembered, complaints about work, someone's disaster of a vacation to Florida. It felt normal, weirdly, uncomfortably normal. So Emma says you're seeing someone, Rachel said during a lull in the game. That's great. What's her name? Marcus shot his sister a look. Did you send a newsletter? I mentioned it. Once, maybe twice, Emma grinned, unapologetic. Her name's Lila. She's great. Marcus is being weird about it. I'm not being weird. You're absolutely being weird, Connor said. What's the problem? Is she secretly a serial killer? Does she hate kids? What's the red flag? There's no red flag. Then what? Marcus set his cards down, suddenly feeling like he was under a microscope. She uses a wheelchair. Car accident 4 years ago. And before anyone gets weird about it, she's smart and funny and way too good at calling me on my bullshit. That's the whole story. The table went quiet for exactly 3 seconds. Then Rachel said, Okay, but does she hate kids? No, she likes Jamie. They talk about rocks and planets. Then literally, what's the problem? David leaned forward. You like her, she likes you, she's cool with your kid. That's hitting the dating jackpot right there. It's not that simple. It kind of is, though, Tom said, unless you're making it complicated on purpose, which, knowing you, you probably are. Emma kicked him under the table. Be nice, he's fragile. I'm not fragile. You're a little fragile, Connor said, but that's okay. You've been through a lot. We get it. The conversation moved on, but Marcus felt the weight of it. They were trying to be supportive in that aggressively casual way people did when they were worried but didn't want to say it directly. He appreciated it and hated it in equal measure. An hour later, Emma cornered him by the snack table. You doing okay? Why does everyone keep asking me that? Because you have that look. The one you get when you're overthinking everything. She grabbed a handful of chips. What's actually going on? With Lila? With you? Marcus took a long drink of flat soda from a plastic cup, buying time. I don't know if I'm ready for this. She's great. Really great. But every time things start feeling good, I panic. What if Jamie gets attached and she leaves? What if I screw it up? What if you just let yourself be happy without waiting for disaster? Emma interrupted. I know that's a wild concept, but consider it. That's not how life works. It could be, if you let it. She softened. Marcus, I love you, but you've been in survival mode for 6 years. At some point, you have to actually live. Lila's good for you. Don't sabotage it, because you're scared. Before he could respond, Connor appeared with a grin. We're doing teams for the next game. Marcus, you're with me. Fair warning, I'm extremely competitive and will judge you if we lose. The rest of the night passed in a blur of games Marcus didn't win and conversations that gradually stopped feeling forced. By the time people started leaving, he realized he'd actually had a decent time. Not great, not life-changing, but decent. Normal. He was halfway to his car when he heard footsteps behind him. Hey Marcus, wait up. Connor jogged over, slightly out of breath. Listen, I wanted to say something about earlier, about Lila. You don't have to... Just let me talk for a second. Connor shoved his hands in his pockets. My brother Mike. He's in a wheelchair. MS. Got diagnosed at 26, and it wrecked him for a couple years. Now he's married, has 2 kids, works from home doing tech stuff. Normal life, just with wheels. Marcus didn't know what to say to that. Point is, Connor continued, people get weird about disabilities like it's the only thing that matters. But it's just one thing. Mike's still annoying as hell, still tells terrible jokes. Still Mike, just sitting down more. He paused. I'm not saying it's not hard. It probably is. But don't let that be the thing that stops you from being with someone who makes you less of a disaster. Who says she makes me less of a disaster? Emma. Also your face. You smiled more tonight than I've seen in years. That's not nothing. Connor clapped him on the shoulder and left before Marcus could figure out how to respond. He sat in his car for a while, engine running, phone in hand. He pulled up Lila's contact, hesitated, then called. She answered on the second ring. How bad was it? Not terrible. Actually kind of okay. He leaned back against the headrest. Your sister lecture you yet? For 90 minutes straight. Apparently I'm wasting my potential and need to take control of my life and stop making excuses. Her words, not mine. Is she wrong? Lila was quiet for a moment. Maybe not. But she doesn't get to decide when I'm ready. Nobody does. That's the whole point. Exactly. He could hear her moving around, the sound of a door closing. So what happened at game night? Did Emma embarrass you? Obviously, she told everyone about you. How horrifying. What did she say? Just that you exist, and that you're great, which you are, so she's not wrong. Smooth, Marcus. Very smooth. He smiled despite the exhaustion pulling at him. I talked to this guy, Connor. He said something that's been messing with my head. Want to share, or are you going to be mysterious about it? Marcus told her about the conversation, about Connor's brother, about the weird guilt he felt for treating her wheelchair like it was the biggest thing between them when maybe it wasn't. It's not, Lila said when he finished. I mean, it's there. I'm not going to pretend it's invisible or doesn't matter. But it's not the thing that defines whether we work or not. That's all the other stuff. Whether we actually like each other. Whether we can handle each other's broken parts. Can we? I don't know yet, but I want to find out. Do you? Marcus thought about Jamie, about the therapy sessions and the school meetings and the constant worry. He thought about Claire and how loving someone hadn't been enough to make them stay. He thought about all the reasons this could go wrong, all the ways he could fail at this like he'd failed at his marriage. Then he thought about Lila in his kitchen, talking to his kid about rocks, like it was the most natural thing in the world. The way she called him out without cruelty. The way she made him feel less alone in a life that had been lonely for so long. Yeah, he said. I do. Good. Then stop overthinking and just see what happens. That's harder than it sounds. Everything worth doing is. They talked until Marcus's phone battery started dying, about nothing and everything. When they finally hung up, he felt lighter somehow. Not fixed, not healed, but less weighted down by fear. At home, Jamie was already asleep. The babysitter reported no problems, just homework and TV and bed at a reasonable hour. Marcus paid her, locked up, and stood in his son's doorway watching him sleep the way he'd done 1,000 times before. I'm trying, kid, he whispered to the dark room. I know I'm screwing up half the time, but I'm trying. Jamie didn't answer, just shifted slightly under his space-themed blanket. Marcus closed the door and went to bed thinking about game nights and honest conversations and the terrifying possibility of actually being happy. The next few weeks fell into a rhythm that almost felt sustainable. Marcus worked, dealt with Jamie's school stuff, saw Lila when their schedules aligned, which wasn't often, but when it happened, it felt right in a way that scared him less each time. They fell into a pattern of morning texts and late-night phone calls. Lila started coming over more, usually when Jamie was around, integrating herself into their life with a casualness that shouldn't have worked but did. She helped with homework sometimes. Turned out her geology background made her surprisingly good at science projects. Jamie responded to her in ways that surprised Marcus, less guarded, more willing to talk. She's cool, Jamie announced one night after Lila had left. For a grown-up. High praise. She doesn't talk to me like I'm stupid, and she knows stuff about space rocks. Asteroids. Whatever. Marcus was loading the dishwasher, letting the conversation happen naturally. You like having her around? Jamie shrugged, suddenly focused on his tablet. I guess. She's okay. Which in 7-year-old speak meant yes, definitely. Please don't screw this up. Good, Marcus said, because I like having her around too. Are you going to marry her? The question came out of nowhere, startling Marcus into dropping a plate. It clattered in the sink but didn't break. What? No, we've been dating for like 6 weeks. Mom left after 2 years, so 6 weeks seems fast, but also maybe not that fast compared to 2 years being not enough. The logic was twisted, but Marcus understood what Jamie was really asking. How long until the next person leaves? How much should he invest in caring? Whether any of this was safe. Marcus sat down at the table across from his kid. I don't know what's going to happen with Lila. I like her a lot. She likes me. She likes you. But nobody's getting married anytime soon, okay? We're just seeing what happens. That's what you said about Mom before she left. The words landed like a punch. Marcus had never told Jamie that, had never shared those early conversations with Claire about taking things slow, seeing what happened. But kids overheard things, remembered things, pieced together narratives from fragments. That was different, Marcus said carefully. Your mom and I. That was complicated in ways that had nothing to do with you. She left because she wasn't ready to be a parent, not because of anything you did. Then why did she stop sending cards? I don't know, buddy. I wish I had a better answer. Sometimes people they can't handle their own stuff, and they disappear. It's not fair and it's not right, but it happens. Jamie's eyes were wet, but he wasn't crying yet. What if Lila can't handle it? What if she leaves too? Then we deal with it, together, like we always do. Marcus reached across the table, waited until Jamie took his hand. But Jamie, here's the thing. We can't stop caring about people just because they might leave. That's not living. That's just being scared all the time. I am scared all the time. The honesty of it broke something in Marcus's chest. I know, me too, but we're working on it, right? With Dr. Stevens. And with each other. Jamie nodded, wiping his face with his free hand. Can we watch the Mars documentary? The new one? Subject change accepted. They watched rovers navigate red dust and listened to scientists explain soil composition, and Marcus held his kid close and tried not to think about all the ways life could still fall apart. Later that night, after Jamie was asleep, Marcus called Lila. Jamie asked if we're getting married, he said without preamble. Jesus, what did you tell him? That we're not. That we're taking it slow, that nobody's leaving. Marcus paused. He's scared you will. Leave, I mean. I'm not planning on it. Plans change. People change. I'm just saying he's already been left once. If this doesn't work out, if we can't do this, I need to know before he gets more attached. The silence on the other end stretched too long. When Lila spoke, her voice had an edge Marcus hadn't heard before. Are you asking me to make promises I can't make? Because I can't promise I'll never leave. Nobody can promise that. Life happens. People grow apart. Shit goes wrong. She took a breath. But I can promise I'm here right now. That I care about you and about Jamie, that I'm not looking for an exit. That's not enough. It's all anyone can give, Marcus. You want guarantees? Date someone who lies better than me. The words stung because they were true. He was asking for something impossible, certainty in an uncertain world, proof that this wouldn't end badly when he knew from experience that everything could end badly. I'm sorry, he said quietly. That wasn't fair. No, it wasn't, but I get it. You're protecting your kid. That's what you're supposed to do. Lila's voice softened slightly. Just don't protect him so hard that you both end up alone. They hung up without resolving anything. Marcus lay in bed staring at the ceiling, wondering when he'd become the kind of person who pushed away good things because he was too scared to believe they could last. His phone buzzed an hour later. Lila, still mad at you, but also still here. Sleep well. Marcus. I don't deserve you. Lila. Probably not. Lucky for you, I have terrible judgment. Despite everything, he fell asleep smiling. The weekend brought Emma's birthday party, which she'd decided to throw at a brewery because apparently 31 meant embracing alcohol and bad decisions. Marcus had tried to get out of it, but Emma threatened to show up at his house with a megaphone, so here he was. Lila came with him, their first real public event as whatever they were. Marcus felt weirdly nervous about it, like he was back in high school worrying about what people thought. Relax, Lila said as they pulled into the parking lot. It's just your sister's friends. They already know about me. That's what I'm worried about. Emma talks me up or talks me down. Up, aggressively up. She told her book club I'm basically a saint for dating me. Gross. Extremely gross. The brewery was crowded, loud with conversation and music. They found Emma holding court at a long table, already 3 drinks in based on her enthusiasm level. You made it! She launched herself at Marcus, then at Lila. Both of you, together, looking cute. I'm so proud. She's drunk already, Marcus observed. She's happy, Rachel corrected from down the table. And yes, also drunk. Hi, Lila. Emma literally hasn't shut up about you for 6 weeks. Lila grinned. All good things, I hope. Mostly. She did tell us about the time Marcus got food poisoning from gas station sushi and called you at 2 a.m. to complain. Marcus groaned. That was supposed to be confidential. Nothing's confidential with Emma, Connor said, appearing with a tray of drinks. You learn that quick. Beer? We've got like 8 kinds and they all taste like different versions of bitter. The evening progressed in waves. Good moments where conversation flowed and Marcus felt almost normal. Awkward moments where he caught people staring at Lila's wheelchair with that mixture of curiosity and pity. Moments where he wanted to leave and moments where he was genuinely having fun. Lila handled it all with practiced ease, navigating social dynamics and physical space with equal competence. She laughed at Connor's terrible jokes, debated teaching methods with Tom and David, and listened to Rachel's story about her disaster of a Tinder date without judgment. Your friends are nice, she told Marcus during a lull. Little nosy, but nice. They mean well, mostly. Emma's great. Drunk Emma is even better. She just told me 5 embarrassing stories about you in under 3 minutes. Please tell me she didn't mention the pottery class. She absolutely mentioned the pottery class. Also something about you getting stuck in a McDonald's play place when you were 23? That was not my fault, and I don't want to talk about it. Lila was laughing now, really laughing, and Marcus found himself laughing too, despite the embarrassment. This was good. This was what normal looked like. Friends and drinks and stupid stories. He'd forgotten that life could include moments like this. Then everything shifted. It started with Brett arriving late. One of Emma's friends from her gym or yoga or whatever fitness cult she was into these days. Marcus barely knew the guy, had maybe met him twice. Brett was loud, confident in that way people were when they'd never had to question their place in the world. He made his rounds saying hello, eventually landing at their end of the table. His eyes landed on Lila, and Marcus watched the recognition process happen. Surprise, quick recovery, that too bright smile people used when they were trying too hard to seem unbothered. "Hey, you must be Lila. Emma said you were cool. I'm Brett." He stuck out his hand for a shake that went on slightly too long. "Nice to meet you," Lila said evenly. "So Marcus, man, good for you." Brett clapped him on the shoulder with aggressive camaraderie. "Seriously, takes a special kind of guy to, date someone with special needs. That's really admirable." The table went silent. Marcus felt ice spread through his chest, every muscle tensing. Lila's face had gone carefully neutral. The expression he'd learned meant she was furious, but controlling it. "She doesn't have special needs," Marcus said, voice flat. "She uses a wheelchair. That's not the same thing." Right, totally. I just meant it's great that you're so open-minded about it. Not everyone would be willing to take that on." Brett seemed oblivious to the tension he'd created. "How do you guys even, go places? Is it hard finding restaurants that work?" "We manage," Lila said quietly. "I bet. Must be tough, though, all the logistics and stuff." Brett took a long drink of his beer. "Props to you both for making it work. Real inspiring." Marcus stood up so fast his chair scraped loudly. "Can I talk to you outside now?" Brett's smile faltered. "What?" "I was just outside. Now." Emma caught Marcus's eye, her drunk happiness evaporating into concern. She gave a tiny nod. "Go ahead. I'll handle things here." Marcus didn't wait for Brett to follow, just headed for the exit with Lila right behind him. The parking lot was cold and quiet compared to the brewery's chaos. Marcus turned on Brett the second they were clear of the door. "What the hell was that?" "What? I was being nice." Brett looked genuinely confused, which somehow made it worse. "You were being condescending. To Lila? To me? Acting like dating her is some kind of charity work." "I didn't mean it like that. Come on, man. I was trying to compliment you. By calling her special needs? By acting like she's a burden I'm heroically tolerating?" Marcus felt 6 years of frustration and fear and anger coiling in his chest, looking for a target. "She's not broken. She's not something I'm taking on. She's a person, a whole, complete person who happens to use a wheelchair." Brett raised his hands defensively. Okay. Sorry. I didn't know you were so sensitive about it." "Sensitive," Marcus laughed, sharp and humorless. "Yeah, I'm sensitive about people treating someone I care about like she's less than human. Real sensitive about that." "Marcus," Lila's voice cut through his anger. "It's fine. Let it go. It's not fine." "Yes, it is. He's an idiot. The world is full of idiots. You can't fight all of them." She was right, but Marcus couldn't uncoil the tension in his chest. Brett was already backing toward the brewery door, mumbling something about getting another drink. He disappeared inside, leaving Marcus and Lila alone in the parking lot. "You okay?" Marcus asked. "Been through worse." Lila's face was still neutral, too neutral. "That happens sometimes. People don't know what to say, so they say the worst possible thing. Usually they mean well, which somehow makes it more annoying." "I'm sorry. I should have..." "Should have what? Known Brett was going to be an ass? Prevented it somehow? Marcus, you can't control what people say." "I can call them out when they're being assholes. You did. And now everyone in there is uncomfortable, and Emma's birthday party is weird." Lila wrapped her arms around herself against the cold. "I appreciate you defending me. Really. But I've been dealing with this for 4 years. I'm used to it." "You shouldn't have to be used to it." "But I am. That's reality. People stare. People say stupid things. Some of them mean well, some are just ignorant, and a few are actually cruel. I can't fall apart every time it happens." Marcus wanted to argue but didn't know what to say. She was right. Of course she was right. He couldn't protect her from the world's casual cruelty any more than he could protect Jamie from it. "Can we go home?" Lila asked quietly. "I'm tired and I don't want to go back in there and pretend everything's fine." "Yeah, of course." They drove in silence, the kind that felt heavy with things neither of them wanted to say. Marcus pulled into Lila's building parking lot, cut the engine, sat there like an idiot trying to find words. "I'm not fragile," Lila said finally. "I know tonight made it seem like I need protecting or defending or whatever, but I don't. I've been fighting my own battles since the accident. I don't need a savior." "I know that." "Do you?" "Because sometimes I feel like you see the wheelchair first and me second. Like you're dating me despite it instead of just dating me." The accusation stung because there was truth in it. Marcus had been so focused on logistics and accessibility and what other people thought that he'd maybe stopped seeing Lila as just Lila. "I'm sorry," he said. "You're right. I've been making this more complicated than it needs to be." "Everything about us is complicated, Marcus. That's fine. But the wheelchair's not the complicated part. The complicated part is two people who've been hurt trying to figure out if they can trust each other enough to not run away when things get hard." "Are we there yet? Trust, I mean." Lila looked at him in the dim light of the parking lot, her face half-shadowed. "I'm here, aren't I? I could have left after you freaked out about Jamie getting attached. Or after tonight, after watching you fight someone over me like I can't handle my own battles. But I'm still here. Why? Because I like you, you idiot. Even when you're overprotective and overthinking everything. Even when you're a mess." She reached across the console, took his hand. "I've spent 4 years convincing myself I was better off alone. Safer that way. No risk of being left again. Then you asked me to stay in that cafe, and it broke something open I thought was sealed shut." Marcus squeezed her hand, throat tight. "I'm terrified I'm going to screw this up." "You probably will. I probably will too. But we can screw it up together." That's the least romantic thing anyone's ever said. Romance is overrated. I'm going for honest. They sat there in the car, hands linked, breathing the same air. Marcus thought about Brett's comments and Lila's forced calm and the way she'd deflated in the parking lot once no one was watching. He thought about Jamie's question about marriage and promises no one could make. He thought about all the ways this could still fall apart. Then he thought about Lila in his kitchen, laughing with his kid, the way she called him out without cruelty. The morning texts that made waking up less awful. The slow, terrifying realization that he was falling in love with her and there wasn't a damn thing he could do to stop it. "I'm all in," he heard himself say. "If you are." Lila looked at him for a long moment. "All in is scary." "Everything's scary. At least this way we're scared together." "Is that your version of romantic?" "I'm working with limited material here." She laughed, watery and genuine. "Okay, yeah, all in. But Marcus? Yeah? Next time someone's an asshole, let me handle it first. Then you can jump in if I need backup. Deal?" "Deal." She leaned across the console and kissed him, quick and soft, then pulled back before he could overthink it. "Good night, Marcus." "Good night, Lila." He watched her navigate the accessible entrance to her building, waited until she was safely inside before driving away. His phone buzzed at a red light. "Emma. Are you okay?" "Brett's an idiot. I'm kicking him out of my life forever." Marcus. "I'm fine. Lila's fine. Happy birthday." Emma. "Come to brunch tomorrow, both of you. I'm making waffles and we're going to talk about feelings." Marcus. Hard pass. Emma. "Too bad. 11 a.m. Don't be late." He drove home thinking about feelings and waffles and the terrifying leap of faith he'd just taken. All in. No guarantees, just two broken people trying to build something that might actually last. At home, the babysitter reported Jamie had gone to bed early, worn out from a birthday party of his own. Marcus checked on him anyway, found his kid sprawled across the bed in that boneless way children slept. "Hey, buddy," Marcus whispered to the dark room. "I think I'm falling in love with someone. Thought you should know. Well, not you specifically since you're asleep, but the universe, I guess. I'm falling in love and I'm terrified and it's probably going to be a disaster, but I'm doing it anyway." Jamie snored softly. Marcus took that as approval and went to bed, phone in hand, waiting for Lila's goodnight text that came 5 minutes later. Lila. "Still all in?" Marcus. "Still terrified, but Yeah, all in. Lila. Good. See you at Emma's waffle intervention tomorrow. Marcus. How do you already know about that, Lila? Emma texted me approximately 60 seconds after you. She's a force of nature. Marcus. Tell me about it. He fell asleep thinking about waffles and feelings and the possibility that maybe, just maybe, he was allowed to have this. Something good. Something real. Something worth fighting for. Emma's apartment smelled like butter and burnt edges when Marcus and Jamie arrived the next morning. Lila was already there, sitting at the kitchen counter with a mug of coffee, looking far more awake than Marcus felt. You're late, Emma announced, wielding a spatula like a weapon. I said 11. It's 11:15. Jamie couldn't find his shoes. They were under the couch, Jamie added helpfully, where Dad put them. Traitor. Marcus ruffled his kid's hair. Morning, Lila. Morning. Your sister's been interrogating me about last night for 20 minutes. Fair warning. Emma pointed the spatula at Marcus. Brett's an ass. I told him never to contact me again. He sent me a text at 2 in the morning saying I was overreacting and that you were being too sensitive. I blocked his number. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did. Nobody talks about my people like that. She flipped a waffle with unnecessary aggression. Lila's family now. Your family. Therefore, Brett can rot. Emma, Lila said gently, it's fine. Really. It's not fine, but we're not going to ruin waffles talking about it. Emma turned to Jamie. You want chocolate chips in yours? Is that even a question? They ate at Emma's tiny dining table, squeezed together with plates balanced on knees. The waffles were good, slightly burnt, but good. And the conversation drifted away from the previous night into safer territory. Jamie told them about his friend's birthday party, something involving laser tag, and too much cake. Emma complained about her students forgetting how to read over summer break, even though summer was months away. Marcus watched Lila interact with his sister, the easy way they'd fallen into friendship. It should have felt weird, his girlfriend and his sister bonding over his shortcomings, but instead it felt right, like pieces clicking into place. After breakfast, Emma cornered Marcus in the kitchen while Lila helped Jamie build something out of Emma's random collection of magnets on the fridge. You look happy, Emma said quietly. Scared, but happy. Is there a difference anymore? With you? Probably not. She rinsed a plate, handed it to him to dry. I'm proud of you, for trying, for letting someone in. Don't get too proud. I'm probably going to mess it up. Maybe, but at least you're trying. That's more than you've done in 6 years. Emma bumped his shoulder. She's good for you, and she's great with Jamie. That kid adores her. Marcus glanced into the living room where Lila was explaining magnetic poles to Jamie with the kind of patience Marcus could barely muster on good days. His son was hanging on every word, asking questions faster than she could answer them. Yeah, Marcus said. He does. So don't screw it up. Helpful advice. Very specific. Emma grinned. I do what I can. They left an hour later, Jamie chattering about magnets and electromagnetic fields and whether you could use magnets to fly. Lila followed them back to Marcus's place, her van pulling into the driveway behind his car. You want to come in? Marcus asked through her open window. Fair warning, the place is a disaster. It's always a disaster. That's part of your charm. Inside, Jamie immediately disappeared into his room to work on some school project. Marcus stood in his kitchen feeling awkward in his own house, unsure what came next. You're overthinking again, Lila observed. I can see it on your face. I'm not, okay, yeah, I am. Marcus leaned against the counter. Last night was a lot. I keep replaying it. What I should have said differently, how I should have handled Brett better. You handled it fine. Aggressively, but fine. You said you wanted to handle things yourself first. I didn't give you that chance. Lila set her coffee down, rolled closer. Marcus, I know you want to protect me. I get it, but I've spent 4 years learning to stand up for myself. When people are asses, I call them out. When situations get uncomfortable, I leave. I don't need you to fight my battles. What if I want to? Then do it with me, not for me. There's a difference. She reached for his hand. Last night you made it about you, about how dare someone disrespect your girlfriend, which is sweet in a caveman kind of way. But it wasn't about you. It was about Brett being ignorant and me having to deal with it like I deal with it every day. Marcus felt something shift in his understanding. I made it worse. You made it bigger. Brett would have shut up and moved on if you hadn't escalated. Instead, the whole party got weird, and I had to be the gracious disabled person who rises above it. She squeezed his hand. Next time, let me set the tone. If I need backup, I'll ask. Okay? I can do that. Can you, though? Because your instinct is to fix things, to protect. That's who you are. With Jamie, with me, probably with everyone. But I'm not broken. I don't need fixing. The words hit harder than they should have. Marcus pulled his hand back, turned away to stare out the window at his overgrown backyard. I know you're not broken. Do you? Because sometimes I wonder if that's what you see. The wheelchair, the limitations, the person who needs defending. But that's not fair. Maybe not, but it's how I feel sometimes. Lila's voice had gone quiet. Marcus, I really like you. More than I've liked anyone in years, but I can't be with someone who sees me as a project, someone who needs to be saved or protected or accommodated. Marcus turned back to face her. Is that really what you think? That you're a project to me? I don't know what I think. Last night confused me. The way you jumped in so fast, so angry, like you were proving something. I was defending you. Or you were defending your choice to be with me. There's a difference. The accusation stung because somewhere deep down, Marcus wondered if she was right. Had he been defending Lila or defending his decision to date someone with a disability? Proving to Brett, to himself, to everyone that he was good enough to handle it? I don't know how to do this, Marcus admitted. Any of this. Dating was hard enough before. Add in a kid and your wheelchair and all my baggage, and I'm drowning here. Then let me help you float instead of trying to save me while you're sinking. They stared at each other across the kitchen, the space between them feeling wider than it actually was. Marcus could hear Jamie moving around in his room, the familiar sounds of his life continuing despite the conversation fracturing something important. I'm sorry, Marcus said finally, for making last night about me, for not letting you handle it your way, for probably a dozen other things I'm not even aware of yet. I'm sorry, too, for not saying this sooner, for letting it build up until I'm angry about something you didn't even know was bothering me. So what now? Lila rolled to the window, looked out at the same overgrown yard. Now we figure it out, or we don't, but we're honest about it instead of pretending everything's fine when it's not. I can do honest. That's actually easier than pretending. Good. Then honestly, I'm scared of getting more involved with you and Jamie, of this becoming something I can't walk away from if it doesn't work. Can't roll away from technically. Did you just make a wheelchair joke? Too soon? Terrible timing, but also kind of funny. Lila smiled despite herself. See? That's the Marcus I like, the one who's a little bit of a disaster and doesn't take everything so seriously. I take some things seriously. Too many things. You need to relax. Says the woman who just gave me a speech about boundaries and independence. I contain multitudes. Jamie appeared in the doorway, oblivious to the tension. Dad, I need poster board for my project. Can we go to the store? Marcus looked at Lila. You want to come? Experience the joy of Target on a Sunday afternoon? Sounds like a nightmare. I'm in. Target was packed with the usual weekend crowd, families and couples and college kids buying things they didn't need. Marcus grabbed a cart, then realized Lila couldn't push it and maneuver her chair at the same time. I'll push, she said, reading his hesitation. You steer. Jamie can throw random things in when we're not looking. I'm 8 now, Jamie said with dignity. I don't throw things in carts anymore. Since when? Since last week. I'm mature. They made it approximately 5 minutes before Jamie spotted the toy aisle and all that maturity evaporated. While he debated between 2 different Lego sets, Marcus and Lila drifted toward the home goods section. This is very domestic, Lila observed, running her hand along a display of throw pillows. Shopping for poster board on a Sunday. Very established couple behavior. We're established. We're something. Haven't figured out what yet. They found the poster board, grabbed markers and glue, wandered through the store with no real destination. Other shoppers gave them looks, some curious, some pitying, one old woman who smiled at them like they were inspiring just for existing in public together. Marcus caught Lila's eye and she rolled hers back at him. See what I mean? She murmured. Inspiration porn. Just two people buying school supplies, but somehow we're heroes. Want me to do something weird? Give them a real show? Please don't. I can't handle you being arrested for public indecency at Target. Who said anything about indecency? I was thinking interpretive dance. That might actually be worse. They were laughing when they rounded the corner and nearly collided with a woman Marcus hadn't seen in 3 years. Claire, Jamie's mother, standing there in the cleaning supplies aisle like a ghost made flesh. She looked different, older, obviously, thinner. Her hair was shorter and she wore clothes Marcus didn't recognize. But her eyes were the same, still that particular shade of green that Jamie had inherited. Marcus, her voice came out strangled. I wasn't expecting. Marcus couldn't breathe. His brain had shut down, all higher functions offline. Somewhere behind him, he could hear Jamie chattering about poster board, oblivious to the disaster unfolding. Claire? It came out flat, emotionless. What are you doing here? I moved back 2 months ago. I've been meaning to call, but She finally looked at Lila, then back at Marcus. You're with someone. That's good. I'm happy for you. Are you? Still flat. Still that weird emotional shutdown that happened when trauma walked into your life wearing a familiar face. Lila's hand found his, squeezed once. The touch grounded him enough to remember how to function. Jamie appeared, pushing the cart with all the confidence of someone who'd just turned 8. Dad, can we get the Death Star Lego? I know it's expensive, but I'll pay you back with my allowance and... He stopped, looking at the woman talking to his father. Recognition flickered, then died. Who's that? Claire made a sound like she'd been punched. Jamie? Oh my, you're so big. Last time I saw you, who are you? Jamie repeated, moving closer to Marcus. Marcus's brain came back online all at once, flooding with protective instinct and rage, and something that felt dangerously close to panic. Claire, you need to go. Please, I just want to talk. 5 minutes. I know I don't deserve it, but you don't deserve it. You walked out, stopped calling, stopped sending cards. You don't get 5 minutes. Marcus, please. I've been trying to get clean, to get my life together. I want to be part of his life again. Jamie had gone very still beside Marcus, watching the adults with wide eyes. Marcus could feel his son processing, trying to understand why this stranger knew his name. This is Mom, Marcus said quietly to Jamie, because lying seemed worse than the truth. Your mom, from before. Understanding dawned on Jamie's face, followed immediately by suspicion and something that looked like anger. You left. I did. I'm so sorry, baby. I was sick, and I didn't know how to be a mother. Don't call me baby. You don't get to call me that. Jamie's voice had gone hard in a way Marcus had never heard before. You left and you didn't come back. You stopped sending cards. I thought you were dead. Jamie, Claire reached toward him, but he jerked back. No, Dad says you weren't ready to be a mom, that it wasn't my fault. But you still left, so you don't get to come back now and act like you care. Marcus felt pride and heartbreak war in his chest. His 8-year-old son standing in Target, telling off the mother who'd abandoned him with more composure than Marcus could manage. We're leaving, Marcus said. Jamie, get your poster board. Lila, I'm right here. She'd been silent through the whole exchange, a steady presence at his side. They moved toward checkout, Claire calling after them. Please, Marcus, I know I screwed up, but I want to make it right. I want to try. Marcus spun back. You want to try? Where was that when he was 3 and crying for you? When he was 5 and asked if you'd come to his birthday? When he was 7 and got in a fight because some kid said you left because he wasn't good enough? You don't get to try now because it's convenient for you. I know, you're right. But people change. I'm different now. I don't care. The words came out cold, final. You made your choice. You walked away. You don't get to walk back in like nothing happened. He turned and headed for the checkout lanes, Jamie and Lila following. They paid in silence, Marcus's hands shaking as he fumbled with his wallet. The cashier smiled at them with professional cheerfulness, oblivious to the wreckage of the last 5 minutes. In the parking lot, Jamie finally broke. Is she really back? Is she going to try to take me? No. Marcus crouched down to his son's level, hands on Jamie's shoulders. Nobody's taking you anywhere. You're mine. You're staying with me. Always. What if she goes to court? What if a judge says, I have to see her? Then we'll deal with it. Together. But Jamie, listen to me. You're old enough to have a say in this. If you don't want to see her, we'll figure out how to make that happen. Jamie nodded, tears streaking down his face. Marcus pulled him into a hug, holding tight while his kid sobbed into his shoulder. Over Jamie's head, he met Lila's eyes. She looked stricken, helpless in a way he'd never seen before. Let's go home, she said softly. The drive back was silent, except for Jamie's occasional sniffles from the back seat. Lila followed in her van, and Marcus was grateful for the buffer of separate vehicles. He needed time to process, to figure out what the hell had just happened. At home, Jamie went straight to his room. Marcus stood in the hallway, lost. Go check on him, Lila said. I'll be here when you're done. Marcus found Jamie on his bed, curled around his space shuttle pillow. Hey, buddy. Is she going to ruin everything? No, I won't let her. You can't control what happens. Dr. Stevens says that. We can only control how we react. Dr. Stevens is very smart, but I'm your dad and I will do everything in my power to keep you safe. Jamie looked up at him, eyes red and swollen. What if she's different? What if she really did get better? Then she can prove it by respecting our boundaries, by understanding that she doesn't get to just show up and demand access to your life. Marcus sat on the edge of the bed. What do you want? Really? Forget about what I want or what she wants. What do you want? I don't know. Jamie's voice went small. I used to think about her coming back. When I was little, I'd imagine her showing up and saying sorry and everything being okay. But now she's actually here and I'm mad. I'm really mad at her. That's okay. You're allowed to be mad. Dr. Stevens says anger is a normal emotion. Dr. Stevens is very wise. Marcus smoothed Jamie's hair back. You want to talk more or do you want to be alone for a bit? Alone, but can Lila stay? Not in here. Just in the house. I like when she's here. Marcus's throat went tight. Yeah, bud, she can stay. He left Jamie's door cracked and went back to the living room. Lila was on the couch, staring at her hands. He okay? She asked. Processing. He wants you to stay. Do you want me to stay? Yes? Definitely yes. Marcus collapsed onto the couch beside her. I'm sorry you had to see that. That's not how I wanted you to meet her. I'm sorry that happened at all. Target's supposed to be a safe space, poster board, and overpriced home goods. Despite everything, Marcus smiled. I'm pretty sure there's no such thing as safe spaces when your ex is in town. What are you going to do? I don't know. Call my lawyer maybe? See if she actually has any legal standing. She abandoned him, stopped all contact. There has to be something that protects Jamie from her showing up and demanding parental rights. Do you think she will? Demand rights? I have no idea what she'll do. I don't know her anymore. Marcus rubbed his face. 3 years. She's been gone 3 years. Why come back now? People get clean and think it fixes everything. Think they can just apologize and everyone will forget. Lila's voice was distant. My ex did something similar. After the accident, disappeared for 6 months, then showed up saying he'd worked through his feelings and wanted to try again. Like I'd just been waiting around for him to figure his shit out. What did you do? Told him to leave, that I'd moved on, which was a lie because I was still a mess. But it felt good to say. They sat in silence for a while, the house creaking around them. Marcus could hear Jamie moving around in his room, probably not doing his homework like he'd claimed. I keep thinking about what you said earlier, Marcus started. About me seeing the wheelchair first. About defending you versus defending my choice to be with you. Marcus, that's not important right now. You just ran into your ex-wife. We can table the relationship stuff. No, I want to say this while I'm thinking clearly, or as clearly as possible given the circumstances. He turned to face her. You're right. I do see the wheelchair first sometimes. Not because I think you're broken or need saving, but because I'm hyper-aware of accessibility, of people staring, of making sure everything works for you. And yeah, maybe some of that is me trying to prove I'm good enough to be with you. But mostly it's because I care and I'm an idiot who doesn't know how to care about someone without trying to fix things. Lila was quiet for a long moment. You can't fix accessibility or ableism or people being ignorant. I know, but I can at least try to make things easier. That's not your job. What if I want it to be? Then you're going to burn out. You can't protect me and Jamie and yourself all at the same time. Something's going to break. Marcus knew she was right, could feel the cracks already forming from the stress of trying to control everything. So what do I do? You let me carry my own weight. You trust that I know my limitations and I'll ask for help when I need it. You stop anticipating problems before they happen and just deal with things as they come. That's the opposite of how I function. I know, that's why you're going to be terrible at it, but you'll try anyway because you're stubborn and you love us. The word hung in the air between them. Love. Neither of them had said it yet, had carefully danced around it for weeks, but there it was, out in the open. I do, Marcus said quietly. Love you, both of you. It's terrifying. Yeah, Lila's voice had gone soft. It really is. They didn't say anything else for a while, just sat together on the couch while Jamie finished his homework and the afternoon light faded to evening. Marcus ordered pizza because cooking felt impossible. They ate on the couch, Jamie squeezed between them, some nature documentary playing on the TV. It felt normal. Desperately, impossibly normal, given the day they'd had. Around 8, Lila stood to leave. I should go. You guys need family time. Your family, Jamie said without looking away from the TV. Marcus watched Lila's face do something complicated. Jamie, you are, though. You're here all the time. You help with homework. You know about space stuff. That's what family does. Your dad and I, we're still figuring things out. Grown-ups always say that, but you're either in or you're out. Dr. Stevens says people show you who they are by their actions, not their words. Dr. Stevens needs to stop being so quotable, Marcus muttered. Jamie finally looked at Lila. You keep showing up. Even when things are hard. Even today after that lady in Target. So you're in, right? Lila looked at Marcus, something vulnerable and scared in her expression. He gave a tiny nod. Your call, but I hope you stay. Yeah, Lila said, voice rough. I'm in. Jamie nodded like that settled everything and went back to his documentary. Marcus walked Lila to the door anyway, suddenly needing a moment alone with her. You okay? He asked. Your kid just basically asked me to commit to this family. So no, not really okay. Terrified, actually. Welcome to the club. We have jackets, remember? Right, the disaster club. She smiled despite the fear in her eyes. Marcus, if Claire fights for custody or visitation or whatever, then we deal with it, together. Like you said. I've never dealt with ex-wife drama before. I'm not qualified for this. Nobody's qualified for any of this. We're all just pretending and hoping it works out. Lila kissed him then, quick and fierce, like she was sealing a promise neither of them had words for. Call me tomorrow, after you talk to your lawyer. I will. He watched her leave, watched her van disappear down the street. Inside, Jamie had fallen asleep on the couch, curled up like he used to when he was smaller. Marcus carried him to bed, tucked him in, stood in the doorway watching him sleep. I'm going to fix this, Marcus whispered to the dark room. I don't know how yet, but I will. His phone buzzed. Emma. Mom called. She heard Claire's back in town. Are you okay? Is Jamie okay? Do I need to come over with wine and murder supplies? Marcus smiled despite everything. Family. The ones you were born into and the ones you built yourself. He had both now, Emma and Jamie and Lila, his disaster of a support system that somehow worked. Marcus. We're okay. Tell Mom we're fine. No murder supplies needed yet. Emma. Yet implies you're keeping options open. I respect that. He fell asleep on the couch that night, too exhausted to make it to his bed. His last thought before sleep took him was that for someone whose life was falling apart, he felt strangely okay about it. Not happy, not fixed, but okay. Like maybe they'd figure it out after all. The next morning started with a call from his lawyer. Marcus took it in his car, parked in the driveway before heading to work, not wanting Jamie to overhear. She doesn't have much standing, the lawyer explained. 3 years of no contact, no financial support, no attempt at communication. Unless she can prove extraordinary circumstances, Most judges won't force visitation on a child who's old enough to express his own preferences. What counts as extraordinary circumstances? Medical crisis, incarceration, severe mental health episode that prevented contact. Addiction can count, but she'd have to prove she's been actively seeking treatment and was prevented from reaching out. Marcus absorbed this. So what do I do? Document everything. If she contacts you, save it. If she shows up, note when and where. If she tries to approach Jamie without your permission, that's concerning. You want a paper trail. The lawyer paused. Marcus, I have to ask, is there any chance you'd consider mediation? Let her have supervised visits, build back slowly. No. Even if Jamie eventually wants to know her? That stopped him. I don't know. Maybe then, but not now. Not when she shows up out of nowhere and expects everything to be fine. Fair enough. I'll draft a cease and desist letter. She needs to go through proper channels if she wants contact. No ambushing you in parking lots. After he hung up, Marcus sat in his car staring at his steering wheel. The right thing for Jamie wasn't always clear. Protecting him from Claire felt right. But what if Jamie eventually resented being kept from his mother? What if Marcus was making this decision out of anger rather than his son's best interest? His phone buzzed. Lila. How did the lawyer call go? Marcus. Okay, she doesn't have much legal standing. He's sending a cease and desist. Lila. Good. That's good. You okay? Marcus. Define okay. Lila. Functional, breathing, not actively panicking. Marcus. Then, yeah, okay. He drove to work on autopilot, spent 8 hours troubleshooting IT issues that felt laughably simple compared to his actual life. When he picked Jamie up from school, his son was quiet but seemed okay. Mrs. Patterson wants to see you tomorrow, Jamie said in the car, for the monthly check-in thing. What do you want me to tell her? About yesterday? I don't know. The truth, I guess. That my mom showed up and it was weird and I don't want to see her. You're allowed to change your mind. If you ever want to see her, I won't. Jamie's voice was flat, certain. She left. People who leave don't get to come back. Marcus didn't know if that was healthy or not. Decided that was a question for Dr. Stevens, not for him. That night, Lila came over with takeout and listened while Marcus recounted the lawyer's advice. Jamie joined them for dinner, then disappeared into his room to build the Death Star Lego set Marcus had bought him as an apology for the terrible day. He's handling this better than I am, Marcus admitted. Kids are resilient. Doesn't mean it's not affecting him. Just means he's processing differently. I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop, for Claire to show up at the school or our house, or then we deal with it. You've got a plan now. Legal protection. You're not helpless. Marcus wanted to believe her, wanted to trust that the lawyer's letter would be enough, that Claire would respect boundaries, that this wouldn't blow up worse than it already had. Thank you, he said, for staying, for being here through this mess. Where else would I be? Anywhere less complicated than my life. Complicated's interesting. I'd be bored otherwise. Lila smiled. Besides, you've dealt with my complicated. Fair's fair. They cleaned up dinner together, fell into the rhythm they'd developed over weeks of meals and conversations. Natural, easy. Marcus caught himself thinking about the future, not in the panicked way he usually did, but in terms of possibilities. Lila meeting his parents' old friends. Weekend trips with Jamie. Holidays that included more than just him and his kid. A future that felt real instead of theoretical. Stop thinking so loud, Lila said, bumping his shoulder. I can hear your brain from here. I'm thinking about good things for once. That counts as progress. What kind of good things? Future things. Us things. He dried a plate, set it in the cabinet. Jamie called you family yesterday. I noticed. Did you mean it? When you said you were in? Lila was quiet for a moment, hands still in the soapy water. Yeah, I meant it. Scared the hell out of me, but I meant it. Good, because I'm pretty sure I'm falling in love with you. Actually, no, I'm definitely in love with you. Have been for a while, just been too chicken to say it. She turned to face him, wet hands and all. You're saying this now? After the worst weekend ever? While we're doing dishes? When's a better time? Literally any other time, romantic dinner, sunset walk, anywhere but over a sink full of dirty plates. I'm not good at timing. Clearly. But she was smiling. You're an idiot. Is that a yes? I didn't hear a question. Marcus's heart was pounding like he was 16 again. Is this too fast? Way too fast. Completely unreasonable. Lila's smile widened. But yeah, I love you too, even though you're a disaster and your timing is terrible and your life is a mess. Our life, if we're doing this. Our life, she agreed. They stood there in his tiny kitchen, dish soap on their hands and grease stains on their shirts, and Marcus thought that maybe this was what happiness looked like. Not perfect, not uncomplicated, just real and messy and worth fighting for. Jamie appeared in the doorway. Are you guys being gross? Because if you're being gross, I'm staying in my room. We're not being gross, Marcus said. You're standing really close and smiling weird. That's gross. Go back to your Legos, bud. Jamie left, muttering about adults being embarrassing. Marcus and Lila looked at each other and started laughing, the kind that came from relief and exhaustion and the absurdity of finding love in the middle of chaos. This is insane, Lila said when she could breathe again. Completely. We're probably going to screw it up. Definitely. But we're doing it anyway. Apparently. She kissed him then, properly this time, and Marcus kissed back thinking that maybe Dr. Stevens was right. Maybe people did show who they were through their actions, and Lila kept showing up, kept choosing them, kept being exactly what he and Jamie needed even when she had every reason to run. Later, after Lila left and Jamie was asleep, Marcus sat on his back porch in the cold night air. His phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Unknown. Please don't shut me out. I know I don't deserve anything, but I'm begging you. Let me try. Let me prove I've changed. Claire Marcus stared at the message for a long time. Part of him wanted to respond with anger, with all the hurt and resentment he'd carried for 3 years. Part of him wanted to delete it and pretend she didn't exist. Instead, he screenshot it, sent it to his lawyer with the note, documenting per your advice, then blocked the number. He wasn't ready to forgive. Might never be ready. But at least now he was moving forward instead of just surviving. He had Lila. He had Jamie. He had a life that was messy and complicated and terrifying and somehow, against all odds, actually worth living. That would have to be enough. The cease and desist letter went out on a Tuesday. By Thursday, Claire's lawyer had responded requesting a mediation meeting. Marcus sat in his kitchen reading the email from his attorney, feeling his carefully constructed piece start to crack. She's not backing down, he told Lila over the phone that night. Her lawyer says she's completed a 6-month rehab program and has been sober for 8 months. They want supervised visitation. What does your lawyer say? That we should at least hear her out. That judges like to see parents trying to cooperate. Marcus rubbed his eyes, exhausted. I don't want to cooperate. I want her to disappear again. I know, but maybe, Lila paused, maybe Jamie needs to decide for himself, when he's ready. He's 8. He's also the one who has to live with this. Whatever you decide now affects him for the rest of his life. Marcus knew she was right. Hated that she was right. I'll think about it. Talk to Dr. Stevens tomorrow during Jamie's session. Dr. Stevens turned out to have opinions. Strong ones. She sat across from Marcus in her office while Jamie was in the waiting room, her expression serious. Jamie's old enough to have a voice in this, she said. Not the final say, you're still his parent, but he should be part of the conversation. He says he doesn't want to see her. Right now, in this moment, that's true. But feelings change. Kids who lose parents, through death or abandonment, often have complicated grief. Sometimes they need to see that parent again, just to process what happened. So you think I should let her back in? I think you should consider all options. A single supervised visit in a neutral location. Let Jamie see that his mother is real, not the monster his imagination might be building. Then let him choose whether he wants more. Marcus wanted to argue, wanted to protect Jamie from any possibility of more hurt. But Dr. Stevens was the expert, and he was just a dad doing his best. I'll talk to him, Marcus said finally. But if he says no, that's final. Fair enough? That night, after dinner, Marcus sat Jamie down in the living room. Lila was there too, a silent support that made this slightly less impossible. We need to talk about your mom, Marcus started. Jamie's face closed off immediately. I don't want to. I know, but we need to anyway. Marcus took a breath. Her lawyer contacted my lawyer. She wants to see you. Just once, with me there the whole time. In a place like Dr. Stevens' office where it's safe. I said I don't want to see her. I heard you, but Dr. Stevens thinks maybe you should, just to see that she's real, that she's not going to hurt you. Then you can decide if you ever want to see her again. Why would I want to see someone who left me? Maybe you wouldn't, but maybe someday you'll have questions only she can answer, about why she left, about what happened. Right now you're angry, which is totally fair, but someday that anger might turn into something else. Curiosity, need for closure, I don't know. Jamie looked at Lila. What do you think? Lila seemed surprised to be consulted. I think your dad's trying to do the right thing, which is really hard when there's no clear right answer. If it were me, I'd probably want to see her once, just to take away the mystery. But that's me. You're allowed to feel differently. Will you be there? Both of you? If you want us there, we'll be there, Marcus said. Jamie was quiet for a long time, that particular stillness that meant he was thinking hard. One time. Then I decide if there's more. And if I say no more, she has to leave us alone. That's the deal. One meeting, your choice after that. Okay, but I'm not calling her mom. She's just Claire. Marcus felt something break and heal simultaneously in his chest. That's fair, buddy. The mediation was set for the following week. Marcus spent the days leading up to it in a state of controlled panic, running through worst-case scenarios and trying to prepare Jamie for something neither of them could predict. Lila was there every night, a steady presence that kept Marcus from spiraling completely. She helped Jamie with homework, listened to his worries about the upcoming meeting, and somehow made everything feel slightly less catastrophic. You're good at this, Marcus told her one night after Jamie had gone to bed. The whole family thing. I'm winging it, but thanks. I mean it. Jamie trusts you. He listens to you in ways he doesn't listen to me sometimes. That's because I'm not his parent. I don't have to be the bad guy who makes him eat vegetables and do homework. Lila shifted on the couch, getting comfortable. But Marcus, after this meeting with Claire, whatever happens, we need to talk about what this is, us, where we're going. I told you I love you. Isn't that enough? Love is the starting point, not the destination. I need to know if you see a future here. Real future. Not just dating and sleepovers and playing house. Marcus's heart started that familiar anxious rhythm. What kind of future? The kind where I'm not just Jamie's dad's girlfriend. Where I'm actually part of this family in ways that matter. Legal ways, maybe, if that's what you want. Are you asking what I think you're asking? I'm not proposing. Don't panic. Lila smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. I'm just saying that at some point we need to figure out if we're building something permanent or if this is just, I don't know, a placeholder until something easier comes along. There's nothing easier than you. I'm in a wheelchair, Marcus. Your ex-wife is back causing problems. Your kid has trauma. Nothing about this is easy. Okay, fair, but that doesn't mean I want easy. I want this. You. Us. He took her hand. I'm terrible at timing and worse at romance, but yeah, I see a future. I want a future. With you. Legally, permanently, whatever that looks like. You mean that? I blocked my ex-wife's number and told my kid you're family. I wouldn't do that for a placeholder. Lila's smile reached her eyes this time. Okay, good. I just needed to hear it. Can we table the specifics until after I survive this mediation meeting? I can only handle one life-changing event at a time. Deal. The day of the mediation arrived too fast and not fast enough. Marcus, Jamie, and Lila met Dr. Stevens at her office. Claire was already there with her lawyer, looking nervous and hopeful in equal measure. Marcus felt Jamie tense beside him. Lila squeezed the kid's shoulder once, a silent, "You've got this." Dr. Stevens facilitated introductions. Claire's lawyer was a woman named Patricia who seemed kind but professional. They all sat in a circle, Marcus, Jamie, and Lila on one side, Claire and Patricia on the other, Dr. Stevens moderating. Jamie, Dr. Stevens started gently, this is a safe space. You can say whatever you need to say, ask any questions, or just listen if that's easier. Jamie stared at Claire with an expression Marcus couldn't read. Why did you leave? Claire's composure cracked immediately. I was sick, baby. In my head. I was using drugs and I couldn't think straight, and I thought you'd be better off without me. Don't call me baby. I'm not your baby. You're right. I'm sorry. Claire wiped her eyes. I was using drugs and I was a mess, and your dad was this perfect parent, and I couldn't handle it, so I ran. I thought I was doing the right thing, but I know now I was just being a coward. Why didn't you call? Or send cards anymore? Because I was ashamed. Every time I tried to get clean, I'd relapse. I didn't want you to see me like that. I thought if I waited until I was better, until I was someone you could be proud of, then I could come back. That's stupid, Jamie said flatly. I didn't need you to be perfect. I just needed you to not leave. Marcus wanted to intervene, but Dr. Stevens caught his eye, gave a tiny shake of her head. Let him talk. You're absolutely right, Claire said. It was stupid, selfish. I don't have good excuses, just explanations. She leaned forward slightly. But Jamie, I want you to know, me leaving had nothing to do with you. You were perfect. You are perfect. I was the problem. All me. I know that. Dr. Stevens told me. Dad told me. Everyone told me. Jamie's voice cracked. But it still hurts. You were supposed to stay, and you didn't. I know. I'm so sorry. They sat in heavy silence. Jamie was crying now, angry tears that he kept wiping away. Marcus's hands were clenched so tight his nails dug into his palms. Lila's hand found his, squeezed. Can I ask you something? Jamie said finally. Anything. Are you going to leave again, if I say you can visit or whatever? Are you going to disappear? No, I promise. I'm different now. I've been sober for 8 months. I have a sponsor. I go to meetings. I have a job. I'm trying to be someone worth knowing. Promises don't mean anything. Dad promised you'd stay and you left anyway. Marcus flinched. He'd never promised that explicitly, but he understood why Jamie felt that way. Claire absorbed the hit. You're right. Promises are just words. So how about this? I'll show you. However long it takes. I'll show up and keep showing up until you believe me. What if I never believe you? Then I'll keep showing up anyway, because you deserve a mother who doesn't give up, even if you never want to call me that. Jamie looked at Marcus. What do you think? Marcus chose his words carefully. I think people can change. I don't know if your mom has, but I think she's trying. Whether you want to give her a chance is your choice. I'll support whatever you decide. Even if I say yes? Even then. Jamie turned back to Claire. 1 visit a month. Here, with Dr. Stevens. You show up on time every time or we're done. No excuses. I can do that. And if I decide I don't want to see you anymore, you leave us alone. No more surprise visits at stores or school or anywhere. Agreed. Okay. Jamie wiped his face. But I'm still mad at you. That's fair. I'll probably be mad at myself for the rest of my life. The meeting wrapped up shortly after. Logistics were discussed. First visit in 2 weeks, supervised by Dr. Stevens, 1 hour maximum. Claire signed documents agreeing to the terms. She tried to hug Jamie on the way out, but he stepped back, not ready for that. Goodbye, Jamie, she said instead. Bye, Claire. In the car afterward, Jamie was silent. Marcus didn't push, just drove while Lila murmured quiet reassurances to his kid in the back seat. I don't know if I did the right thing, Jamie said, finally. There's no right thing here, Marcus replied. Just what feels manageable. You can always change your mind. Doctor, Stevens says it's okay to have complicated feelings. Dr. Stevens is very smart. I'm still mad at her, at Claire. That's allowed. Being willing to see someone doesn't mean you have to forgive them. They got home and Jamie disappeared into his room. Marcus stood in the kitchen feeling wrung out, like he'd run a marathon with his emotions instead of his legs. You okay? Lila asked. Ask me in a week or a year. Maybe then I'll know. She came over, wrapped her arms around him. Marcus held on tight, grateful for the anchor. Jamie's going to be fine, she said. He's tough, gets it from his dad. I'm not tough. I'm barely functional most days. Same thing when you have a kid depending on you. They stood like that until Marcus's phone alarm reminded him he needed to start dinner. Life kept moving whether you were ready or not. The first supervised visit with Claire came and went. Jamie reported it was okay, I guess, which Marcus took as a minor miracle. The second visit went similarly. By the third, Jamie seemed less hostile, more curious. She told me about her job, he said at dinner one night. She works at a vet clinic, answers phones and stuff. She says maybe I could come see it sometime. Do you want to? Marcus asked carefully. Maybe. I like animals. Marcus exchanged a look with Lila. Progress, apparently. Over the next few months, a routine developed. Claire showed up every time, punctual and appropriate. Jamie slowly thawed from hostile to cautious to occasionally almost friendly. She'd earned back Mom, yet still just Claire. But she was trying. Marcus watched it all with complicated feelings he didn't know how to process. Relief that Jamie was getting closure, resentment that Claire got to waltz back in after 3 years, gratitude that at least she was being consistent this time. It's going to mess with your head, Emma told him over coffee one Saturday. You're allowed to hate that she's back and also be glad Jamie's getting answers. Feelings are complicated. When did you get so wise? I've always been wise. You just never listened. Marcus threw a sugar packet at her. Brat. Disaster. How's Lila handling all this? Better than me. She thinks it's good for Jamie to have more people who care about him, even if one of those people has a questionable track record. She's not wrong. Plus, she's smart and pretty and way too good for you. I'm aware, Emma grinned. So when are you proposing? What? Don't play dumb. You're in love with her. She's in love with you. Jamie adores her. You basically already live together. What are you waiting for? I don't know. The right moment, less chaos in my life, a sign from the universe? The right moment doesn't exist. There's always chaos. And the universe already gave you a sign. Her name's Lila, and she showed up at a cafe ready to run until you asked her to stay. Emma leaned forward. Marcus, you've spent 6 years in survival mode. At some point, you have to actually live. Build something. Stop waiting for permission to be happy. I'm not waiting for permission. You absolutely are. You're waiting for everything to be perfect before you make a move. But perfect doesn't exist. Life is messy and complicated, and you deal with it anyway. Marcus knew she was right. Had known for weeks that he wanted to marry Lila, make it official, build a real future instead of just hoping one materialized. But the logistics felt overwhelming. Ring shopping, planning a proposal, figuring out how to do it without making it about her wheelchair, or his kid, or any of the complications that defined their relationship. I don't know how, he admitted. How to what? How to propose. She's not a flowers and candlelight person. She'd hate some big public thing. But I also don't want to just ask over dinner like it's no big deal. Emma pulled out her phone. Okay, let's plan this. What does Lila actually like? What matters to her? They spent the next hour mapping it out. Marcus felt ridiculous, but also grateful. Emma knew him well enough to push past his overthinking and just make him do the thing. By the time he left, he had a plan. Terrifying, but a plan. He bought the ring the following week. Simple, elegant, nothing flashy. The jeweler asked if he wanted it engraved, and Marcus almost said no before changing his mind. Inside the band, in tiny script, you stayed. A reminder of that first day in the cafe when everything changed. The proposal itself took another 2 weeks to execute. Marcus waited for a day when Jamie was at a sleepover, when Lila came over for what she thought was just a normal Friday night. They made dinner together, that easy rhythm they'd fallen into. Lila told him about her classes. She'd re-enrolled in school, finishing her geology degree online. Marcus told her about work drama that didn't matter but filled the comfortable silence. After dinner, they ended up on the couch like always, some movie playing that neither of them were watching. Can I ask you something? Marcus said. You're using your serious voice. Should I be worried? Maybe, probably. He turned to face her fully. That first day at the cafe, when you tried to leave. Why did you stay? Lila looked confused by the question. You asked me to. You gave me a choice, and I chose to stay. But why? You didn't know me. Could have walked away and never looked back. I don't know. Something about the way you asked, like you understood what it meant to be ready to run. She studied his face. Why are you asking this now? Because I've been thinking about that day a lot. About the choice you made. About how different my life would be if you'd left. Marcus took a breath. About how I want you to keep choosing to stay, permanently. He pulled out the ring box before he could overthink it. Lila's eyes went wide. Marcus, I know this is scary. I know we're a mess. My ex-wife is back in the picture. My kid has trauma. Your life is complicated enough without adding us to it. But I'm asking anyway. He opened the box. Marry me. Not because I need saving or you need saving or any of that. Just because I love you and I want to build a life with you. A real one. Legal and permanent and all in. Lila stared at the ring, then at him, then back at the ring. You're serious. Completely. We've been together less than a year. I know. Your life is chaos. I know that too. I'm in a wheelchair. That comes with complications you haven't even thought about yet. I've thought about them. I'm sure there are more I haven't. We'll figure it out. This is insane. Probably. Marcus took her hand. But it's also right. You know it is. We're good together. Better than good. We make each other less of a disaster. That's a low bar. It's our bar, and we clear it. He paused. So what do you say? Will you marry me? Lila was crying now, which he'd expected. What he hadn't expected was the laugh that came with it. You're doing this on your couch, in sweatpants, after we ate leftover Chinese food. I told you I'm bad at timing. The worst. She wiped her eyes. But also kind of perfect. Because this is us. Messy and imperfect and somehow right anyway. Is that a yes? You're an idiot. I'm aware. Is it a yes? Yeah, yes. Obviously yes. She pulled him into a kiss that tasted like tears and laughter. I love you, even though you're a disaster who proposes in sweatpants. Marcus slipped the ring on her finger, feeling like his heart might actually explode from relief and joy and terror. There's an engraving inside. Lila took the ring off to look, read the inscription, and started crying harder. You stayed. You remembered. I remember everything about that day, how scared I was, how scared you were, how we both chose to stay anyway. We're really doing this, getting married, apparently. They sat there on the couch, Lila's ring catching the light, both of them processing the magnitude of what they'd just agreed to. Eventually, Lila's practical side kicked in. We have to tell Jamie before anyone else. Tomorrow, when he gets back from his sleepover. He's going to lose his mind. In a good way or bad way? Good, I think. He's been asking when I'm moving in. Have you been? Asking? Thinking about it. My lease is up in 2 months. Seems logical. Oh, we're getting married and you're worried about logic? One of us has to be practical. They told Jamie the next afternoon after he got home buzzing with sugar and lack of sleep from the sleepover. He looked at the ring, looked at their faces, and grinned. Finally, I've been waiting forever. It's been less than a year, Marcus said. That's forever when you're 8. Can I tell Dr. Stevens? Sure, bud. Can Lila officially be my family now? Like, legal family? Marcus looked at Lila. They hadn't discussed that part yet. What do you think? I think we figure it out together, Lila said. Maybe after the wedding. See how everything settles. But you're staying, right? You're not going to leave like... Jamie stopped himself. I'm staying, Lila said firmly. I promise, and unlike some people, I keep my promises. Jamie hugged her then, fierce and tight. Marcus watched his kid hold on to Lila like she was the answer to prayers he'd been too scared to speak out loud. The wedding planning was simultaneously easier and harder than expected. They decided on small, immediate family and close friends only. Emma went into full coordinator mode, which was both helpful and overwhelming. Lila's sisters descended with opinions about everything from flowers to music to whether the venue was accessible enough. Claire asked tentatively if she could attend. Jamie thought about it for a week before saying yes. She could come, but she had to sit in the back. Marcus was surprised by his own reaction, something close to peace about it. She was part of Jamie's life now, for better or worse. Might as well include her. They got married on a Saturday in October, 6 months after the proposal. The venue was a garden that had worked hard to be fully accessible. Paved paths, ramps, accessible bathrooms. Lila had cried when they toured it because someone had actually thought about people like her. The ceremony was simple. Emma officiated, having gotten certified online specifically for this. Marcus stood at the front, trying not to pass out from nerves, while Jamie fidgeted in his mini-suit. Then Lila came down the aisle, rolled down technically, and Marcus forgot how to breathe. She wore a dress the color of twilight, and her smile was brighter than anything he'd ever seen. Emma started the ceremony with a joke about how she'd told them both they needed to get lives, and look how that turned out. People laughed. Marcus barely heard it, too focused on Lila's face. The vows were traditional, nothing fancy. Marcus managed to get through his without crying, which felt like an achievement. Lila cried through all of hers, which made everyone else cry in solidarity. "I was so ready to run that day," she said, off script, so convinced this would end badly. "But you asked me to stay and I did, and it changed everything. So I'm staying, forever. Even when you're annoying or overprotective or trying to save me from things I don't need saving from." "I'll try to be less of those things," Marcus said. "Don't. I like you annoying." Emma cleared her throat. "Are you two done being disgustingly cute? Because I have a ceremony to finish." They exchanged rings, kissed when Emma told them to, turned to face their friends and family as a married couple, and Marcus felt something settle in his chest. This was real. This was his life now. The reception was in the same garden, tables scattered under string lights. Jamie gave a toast that was mostly about how Lila knew cool facts about space and made better mac and cheese than Dad. Lila's sisters told embarrassing stories. Emma made everyone cry with a speech about second chances and choosing to be brave. Claire stayed in the back like Jamie had requested, but when she caught Marcus's eye, she mouthed, "Thank you," and he found himself nodding back. She'd shown up every month for 7 months now, hadn't missed once. Maybe that counted for something. Later, after dinner and dancing and cake, Marcus found himself alone with Lila for a moment. They'd snuck away from the crowd, hiding behind the garden's gazebo like teenagers. "We did it," Lila said. "We really did. You're stuck with me now, legally. Best decision I ever made. Even better than gas station sushi? Definitely better than gas station sushi." She laughed, and Marcus kissed her, tasting champagne and frosting and the future they'd built together despite every reason it shouldn't have worked. Jamie found them a few minutes later. "Everyone's looking for you guys. Emma says you can't leave yet because there are traditions or whatever." "We're coming." Marcus ruffled his kid's hair. "You having fun?" "It's okay." "For a wedding." Jamie paused. "Dad? I'm glad you found Lila. I'm glad she stayed." Marcus felt his throat go tight. "Me too, bud." They went back to the reception together, the three of them, and Marcus thought about how far they'd come. From that cafe where Lila had tried to run. From late nights worried about Jamie's therapy and Claire's return. From all the moments where giving up would have been easier than pushing forward. But they'd pushed forward anyway. Built something real out of broken pieces, and fear, and the stubborn refusal to let life win. The party wound down eventually. Guests left with hugs and congratulations and promises to visit soon. Emma helped clean up while Jamie fell asleep on a garden bench, exhausted from the day. Marcus carried his son to the car, Lila following. They drove home through quiet streets, Jamie snoring softly in the back seat. "What are you thinking?" Lila asked. "That I'm terrified." "Of what?" "Screwing this up. Not being a good enough husband. Failing you the way I—" He stopped. "The way Claire failed Jamie?" "Yeah." "Marcus, you're not Claire. You show up. You try. You don't run when things get hard." Lila took his hand. "We're going to fight. We're going to have bad days, but we're also going to have good days. And we'll figure it out together. Promise?" "I promise. And unlike some people, I keep my promises." They got home and put Jamie to bed still in his suit because he was too deeply asleep to change. Marcus stood in the doorway watching his kid sleep, this person who'd made him a father and shaped his entire world. "Good night, Space Cadet," he whispered. "Thanks for being patient while I figured my life out." In their bedroom now officially, Lila was already getting ready for bed. Marcus watched her navigate the space they'd modified together, the lowered closet rods, an accessible bathroom, and all the small adjustments that made this house theirs. "What?" she asked, catching him staring. "Just thinking about how lucky I am." "Sappy. But I'll allow it since we just got married." They got into bed, Lila curling into his side the way she always did. Outside, the world kept spinning. Claire would show up for her next visit with Jamie. Work would be waiting Monday. Life would continue being complicated and messy and hard. But right now, in this moment, everything was exactly right. "I love you," Marcus said into the dark. "I love you too, even in sweatpants. Especially in sweatpants." Fair point. They fell asleep tangled together, two people who'd been broken and scared and convinced they were better off alone. Who'd found each other anyway. Who'd built a family out of spare parts and stubborn hope. Marcus's last thought before sleep took him was that maybe Dr. Stevens had been right all along. Sometimes you had to risk getting hurt to find something worth keeping. Sometimes you had to let people in, even when every instinct said to run. Sometimes you just had to stay. And sometimes, if you were really lucky, someone stayed right back.